I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. First thing is approval of the minutes. Questions, additions? If not, do we make a motion to approve?
Just a quickie, March 11th, third page, paragraph that starts, auditors were here. The second sentence says City Hall. I think it's supposed to be City Hall. Minor, but official record. Other than that,
Under the, yeah, okay, what about the agenda? Somebody approve that?
oh, that was for the, oh, never mind. Yeah,
So move.
Someone second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Approval of the minutes from, we have two of them, March 7th, was it? And the 11th. Any additions, questions of that? Except John, you had one?
With the correction, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Someone second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, approve of bills, check 18,049 to 18,080 and electronic 56642 to 56655. And then there's some payroll down there below. Any questions on any of that?
I do have some comments on the bills or on the whole thing here. First of all, I think, didn't we make a motion a while ago to clean up the refuse account? We're $9,000 in the hole there. We're never gonna get that cleaned up.
That's the one I had underlined too.
Okay. I thought we did that already once. Maybe we didn't. And if we didn't, I
I
guess.
think John and I were supposed to meet and go over that and
This month got away. Yes, that and with the minor budget corrections that we need to do yet, but I just didn't get up.
We just haven't. Okay, all right.
Why would it ever show a negative?
Because over the years, we haven't taken in enough to cover like the spring cleaning. and
That's
all
what I
of
was
that,
wondering.
you know.
Okay, yeah,
And since then, we budgeted a little more for spring cleaning,
okay.
you know, but we're still behind and we're never gonna get that caught up if we don't like
Chances are
move some money.
we moved money already, right? We covered this or?
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
thought we made the motion already a while ago, but
I don't,
I mean,
Did you see anything in there, Greg, about it at all? No?
But it's part of my report, so we'll talk about that.
okay.
Okay. All right.
well, we'll wait for you then and then we'll do a motion if we need to do a motion then. Sounds good. And like like future improvements accounts, I haven't been touched yet. You're gonna work on that. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, very
Yeah.
good, yeah. Because we need to make sure that all is switched around. And the only other comment I have is that we have this project gonna be bid here, you know, awarded. And we've only got like about 150 in a checking account right now. So, you know, we gotta be sure that we're watching to make sure that
we
we
have
have money.
way more than 150.
Are you talking about in the sewer, water account?
Oh, I
What
thought
are
it
you
was-
talking about in the?
Oh, okay, I thought it was only 150 in the general fund
No. 400 and some.
without investments, 142. I mean, cash. I guess I'm just saying that we just gotta be sure that we're making plans, you know,
Right, yeah.
we got a CD coming due here
Yeah.
and I don't know, May or June or something like that, you know,
Yeah.
with 150 grand. I mean, we just have to be sure that we're planning for that.
Your audit was what, in February? So you have within 2 months current of where our general is in your
Yeah, as long
report.
as the journal entries that we provide the city are posted, that should update all your cash balances.
Yeah.
Anybody else then with questions on the bills? If not, somebody make a motion to approve those.
So move.
Someone to second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. We can move on to Bolton and Mink.
Yeah.
Joe?
Evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Continuing to pursue the 2024 Holiday Street backyard sanitary sewer improvements. Last Thursday, we held the bid opening for the project. We received 8 bids. One of them below the engineer's estimate, one of them slightly over the engineer's estimate, and then 6 bids above those estimates. So the apparent low bidder is Chambers Excavating and Trucking out of Mankato, Minnesota. I believe Sue included a exhibit in your packet, a letter of recommendation to award the project. We have worked with Chambers Excavating on some projects, not a lot. Pat Chambers, the owner of the company, to confirm that they're the project they can take on and they feel comfortable doing. We have supported the project they feel comfortable taking on and completing. We've worked with them on some storm sewer construction projects in the past. And a little bit of private site development sanitary sewer. We haven't seen them too much on the public side of the sanitary sewer, but we're confident that they can do a good job for the city. May take them slightly longer than some of the larger contractors, but I think that lower cost reflects that they are, might take them a bit longer, but they can still get the work done. So they came in there with a bid of $109,645, which is approximately 19% below the engineer's estimate of $135,500. Speaking with Sue earlier today, sounds like we're very close, but we're still waiting for the signed easement from the Winters property there. I think the verbal agreement's in place. I think the handshake's been taking place, but there hasn't been pen to paper. I'm hesitant to recommend approving the award of this project to Chambers until we have that signed easement. So the bid bond, which is the bond that protects the contractor's bid, there at some point in time, the price is no longer good. That lasts 61 days from the date of the bid opening. So the bid bond is good through June 4th, 2024. So with that to complete the project. So basically, once the road gets torn up, they start underground construction. They have 35 days to get it done. And then also they have to get it done by September 27th. So what I'm saying by all that is that delaying it a month is not going to cause any repercussions to the contractor or to the city this time. Awarding the contract and not getting, for whatever reason, something that we're gonna talk with the easement, that's the one thing that could throw a wrench in the project at this time.
I think we should take your advisement. Not a word tonight.
Would we wait another 30 days, Tom, or would we if we get that letter, say the end of this week, would we making a quick little meeting so that they can move on quicker?
I would like to,
Me too. Yeah,
It sounded like
Because-
he would have it signed and give it to me tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest.
really.
So
So,
Winters,
Yes.
maybe we can set another meeting for next Monday night, maybe, or something, if that's not a holiday or something.
yeah. We could even have it at what, 5 in the afternoon or something?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
maybe. Everybody
4:30?
else can make it.
it's only gonna be a couple-minute meeting to award it.
I'm very flexible to make any day work next week.
can I tentatively do it then? What, next Monday?
That work for everybody?
5 o'clock?
I'll be on vacation, so somebody else will have to do this. I can just do the minutes when we go back.
I'm good with computers.
So I've seen.
Amy could take.
Somebody want to make a motion then for Amy, that work for you?
Tax day,
Pardon?
tax day?
Is it
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that worked. What day?
Ain't a holiday.
4:30?
4:30?
5 o'clock, whatever,
4:30.
whatever works for everybody.
Don't have to pay.
Somebody make a motion then next Monday?
I'll make a motion for April 15th, 4:30 special meeting to approve. So we're gonna basically approve the
We would be awarding, we'd submit
Awarded.
a council resolution to award the project to Chambers Trucking next meeting.
okay.
John made that a motion, someone second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Alright,
Opposed, motion carried. Alrighty,
All right, we have one other topic here. Try to keep it brief possible. I have Chelsea with me today. Chelsea is our Director of Finance. Did I correctly? The funding, I both make the target of some funding opportunities. So we've been working with Sue to pursue funding through the state representative Bjorn Olson that's on a council meeting, I believe is in November of 2023. So we've been working to put together a project that makes sense for the city, solves several of the city's issues in one project. So what I dropped off today, the 11x17 piece of paper, lays out the projects that we submitted to the legislative assistant underneath Representative Bjorn Olson, pursuing state bonding bill appropriation dollars. So the total that we applied for was just under $11 million. And what that would be for is a new water treatment facility, a new well, demolition of the existing water treatment facility, and then running a smaller or a shorter length of raw water main from the existing well over to the water treatment facility. We're proposing to put the new water treatment facility on the lot that was acquired or the house is demoed. I believe it's 530 Sherman Street. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's sort of project number one on the north side of Sherman Street. And then project number two is South Halliday Street, water main and full street reconstruction. I shouldn't say water main street reconstruction, it's a full street utility reconstruction. So that would be South Halliday Street from Sherman Street to Hiller Drive. And then Chapel Street from Halliday Street to Willard Street. We have looped the water main across Chapel Street. That's one of the areas that we've looked at water main looping in the past. The last portion of the project would be Hiller Drive from Halliday Street to the Ewing Court cul-de-sac, the south termini of Ewing Street. So we'd be looping the water main along Hiller Drive, which is another area that we've looked at water main looping in the past. So I know it was 10.9 million is a large dollar amount. We wanted to include a project that would encompass and hopefully solve a lot of the problems that we've seen in the city. So we felt if the state representative was here willing to help out the city, that we should try and accomplish as many things we could accomplish with the project. So we feel everything that we applied for makes sense and would be a benefit. You'll also see a stormwater pond, I should mention that, near just over the ball field fence down there. The purpose for the stormwater pond is, as you know, Chapel Street's a steep hill coming down, and we got to slow that water down. The city already has some erosion issues down kind of by the park down there, and what a stormwater pond allows you to do is get the water down to the bottom of the hill, slow it down, and then slowly release it into the city's infrastructure without causing erosion issues. So we applied for the bonding bill appropriation, and what we're here tonight to talk about is, we've talked about in the past, but there's the Public Facilities Authority. We're looking to put the project on the project priority list. So when we submitted to this legislative assistant, he asked, will the city be providing a local match? And how we responded to that question is the city is going to pursue this drinking water revolving fund dollars to provide a local match if one is deemed necessary. So I've seen in the past that maybe they'll cover the project in full, the full 11 million. But we need to be prepared for is if they were to cover, say, 75% or 50%. And we as a city felt, well, this is still, $5 million that they're allocating to us. How can we pick up the other 5 million or 6 million that's remaining? So we'd like to get on that, put the project on the project priority list, which does not lock the city into any, that they have to go ahead and do this project. It just kind of gets the project on people's radar, the Department of Health's radar, and some other public facilities. Let's see. And then the next step is also getting the project on the intended use plan. Again, there's a lot of acronyms. So it's project priority list, PPL, and then intended use plan is IUP. Again, the intended use plan is just showing these the Public Facilities Authority that the city is looking at pursuing this project. I think it allows people to think the project is being taken a little more seriously. And again, it's sort of was our good faith effort to the state representatives, legislative assistant, saying this is what the city's prepared to do if a portion of that is funded by state bonding bill dollars. So you can see how that was a little bit of a tricky question for us to answer. He's saying, well, how much will the city match? And we're, we'll match, you tell us. This was to our response to some extent. So if that's something the city is interested in, again, I know you have some questions, myself and Chelsea can answer them for you. We have a couple cover letters that we need a signature from the mayor tonight. It actually doesn't have to be tonight. It's due the first Friday in May to get on these lists. And then we would submit the application for the project priority list and the intended use plan. Again, those are low interest loans or lower interest loans through the state of Minnesota.
If we had to do a match, would that be like a 15-year bond for us, for our portion, or would it be longer, or how does that work?
Yep, so I think the max they would allow is 20 years, but you can go lower than that if you'd like. And also, just to echo what Joe said, getting on the list gives you the opportunity the opportunity to have that as an option for financing, but you don't need to use it. If you get to if you get bonding dollars and you decide, gosh, the leftover cost is something we want to cover locally, or we want to bond locally, or whatever, you can do that. So this does not tie you to financing through there. But if you were considering that, yes, to answer your question in a long, convoluted way, you can go 15 years or less if that worked out for the city.
Does anybody know how big Vernon's project is this summer? They're digging a lot of the town up,
I don't know a dollar amount.
and they're smaller than us. I was just wondering how long they went out. And did they get some matching money, I suppose, over there? Anybody kept up on that?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure.
Okay, I was just curious.
I think they did.
You think they did or didn't?
I want to think they did, but I don't know for sure.
Okay,
Seems like I've read that.
because that was an awful expensive venture over there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Would it be?
it was millions.
Yeah,
And just to give you guys an idea on the breakdown of these total project costs, we talk about that $11 million. 7.5 of that is for the water main looping, or raw water main and water treatment facilities. That north of Sherman Street is kind of the way to look at it. 2.3 million is for the South Halliday reconstruction and the Chapel Street water main looping. And then 300,000 is for the Hiller Drive water main looping. So that's the breakdown. It will be interesting to hear back, or if or when we hear back from the bonding bill appropriation dollars, to see what that leftover cover is. Like Chelsea noted, it may be more cost effective to locally secure some dollars depending on what that leftover amount is, because what the PPL, the project priority list, and the intended use plan bring in is they bring in a requirement which is called Build America, Buy America. And for a water treatment facility, that can sometimes increase the cost of materials that need to be used to build a facility like that. So there can be a trade-off there. When you start talking large dollars, you drop it 1%, your interest rate 1%, then it makes more sense to go with the funding through the PPL and IUP, because that 1% over 15, 20 years is a big deal. But you start lowering that principal cost, and that 1% decrease may not necessarily be worth the extra hoops you have to jump through.
Is this federal money given through the state of Minnesota, or is this state of Minnesota?
Combination of both, but because there's federal dollars, that's what triggers this Build America, Buy America.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, yeah.
So.
The last important thing to understand as a city is, say the city was awarded the $11 million that we asked for, 10.9. That is not a check that goes in our bank account that you pay Bolton and Mankin, you pay the contractor. It's a reimbursement program. So the city has to be prepared to pay for engineering and that first construction pay estimate, and from there, then it's a reimbursement program. I think it's generally every couple weeks or so.
Once a month they
Once a
do,
month, thank you.
yep, they do disbursements.
So we would have to have a chunk of change in the bank to, I'm assuming that engineering. That's gonna be a good chunk of change, and the first construction billing would be. Probably quite large too, I would, well,
Yeah, you could be certainly talking about a couple $1,000,000,
Okay.
$1 to $2 million. There are options for interim financing that if we got to that point, we could talk about through the
Minnesota Rural Water.
thank you,
Yeah.
Minnesota Rural Water, thank you.
Yeah, because we don't got that kind of money.
Mhm. Mhm.
No.
Oh. Good. So, seeing that you stated that, this was built in the 20s and the 30s, do you think that to rehab that or to put new, do you think that kind of would catch anybody's eye, or, is everybody writing this to try to get them dollars?
You're asking, should we have considered rehabbing the water treatment facility versus building a new?
Well, I mean, being that it's that dated, does that,
Would we be in more of a consideration because we have the older?
yeah, would we be in a higher chance of getting money?
Yeah, I mean,
I think the fact that your rep approached you is really more telling than the actual project itself. A lot of communities will go out and just seek it without having that feedback at the state level, but the fact that. And we've had other clients in the state too with their reps kind of reach, I think they're looking for projects to represent their districts. So that speaks more strongly to me, just from my experience, than maybe the components.
And when do they act on these? When would they be starting to distribute money? Is that the end of the summer, middle of the summer, or?
So the legislature usually passes the bonding bill around the middle of May, and then the governor would sign it. Last year it was like June 1st, so it's a every other year cycle, but we've got back-to-back years because they didn't pass a bonding bill in 2020, so they passed one in 2022, so they passed one in 23, and now this is a normal legislative cycle again, so. June 1st last year, and that's when the dollars, you can start incurring costs that are eligible for reimbursement, so. If we were talking about this, you were already down the road of planning and incurring cost on design and construction ahead of the bill passing, none of that would be reimbursed by the grant, so it's really good timing for the city that you're just kind of starting to talk about it, you haven't done any significant design towards a project yet, because you don't want to wait for that bill to pass, and then you have to go through some hoops with the state, right? So they're gonna look at how much was allocated, what the project cost estimate is, and then how are you going to finance the balance if there is one, because they will need to show like proof of financing for the balance of any project costs in order to release grant funds. So the agency that would administer this is the Public Facilities Authority, and so a lot of times their funding and these bonding bills work in tandem with each other.
Would it ever get down to an X amount of dollars where we'd have to either choose water treatment plant or the 2.3 million to reconstruct in Chapel Street and looping?
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
But either way, that's way more than we have available today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, fantastic.
Just a comment, one thing I really like is if they build the new treatment plant down the street there, you could keep the old one in service until the new one is ready to go. You wouldn't have that situation like they
What are we
had
gonna
down
do?
in
Amboy?
Amboy. You could still continue to operate while you're building the other one. That's what's nice about having that lot down there.
That was the intent when we bought it.
That was the intent.
I commend the council for that. That lot, we've done some preliminary investigations and it will fit a small water treatment.
Same thing with demo in this building. If you ever needed to put up a new water tower, you could put one up right next to it and then tear the old one down once the new one's in service.
Once the treatment facility is demolished, yeah.
If they demoed this, you'd have room there for the new tower.
Okay, so then what's the next step then? I think, to me, it sounds good. but-
Yeah. get on the list.
Yeah, the next step would be to, so the application for the project priority list, the PPL, is due the first Friday of May. And then the intended use plan is due the first Friday of June. Generally, it's sometimes nice to submit them at the same time. It's just a lump sum package to the state then. So we have the application ready to go. I have a couple cover letters here with me tonight if the council and the mayor were wanting to head that direction, we could sign them tonight, or I can drop them off and you can sign them at a time when you're comfortable. It doesn't have to be this evening. It just needs to be prior to the first Friday of May, if that's the direction we want.
So,
I think we should look at them. and-
yeah, if we have another meeting next, Monday, if we can have them, then we can review them
Yes.
between.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can get copies
yes.
to look at now or whatever tonight or whatever.
What you'll see is one piece of paper, you have to read the header, which I know all of you will. The one piece of paper is for the project priority list. That's the full project on the piece of paper. And then we had to break the intended use plan, the IUP, into two documents, and that's for north of Sherman Street, the water. We did it for the exact reason the mayor asked, is could these projects be broken up into two? And the intended use plan, you need to have them broken up into projects you may foresee breaking up into multiple projects. Because in all likelihood, even if we went for the full 11 million, it would be two different projects because the contractor that wants to do sewer and water work doesn't want to build a water treatment facility.
Right.
So it's likely that it would be two separate projects anyways. So that's why you'll see 3 documents that I will drop off.
Would we somewhere along the line have to look at if our rates right now for water are adequate, or when do you start looking at that saying, oh boy, we gotta bump them up, you know? When, I guess. When would that be determined that we would have to look at that and see if it's feasible to be able to up our water rates, right? Just the water, because this isn't sanitary. Just curious, when would that procedure start?
As always, we would encourage you to start looking at that process as soon as possible with the financial advisor to see what rates maybe as a city could bump them up to, but in terms of the grant dollars through.
Yeah, so that would be part of a process if you were going through the PFA funding cycle. They look at your system revenues and expenses and where, are your rates generating enough revenue to pay your bills. On the bonding bill side, again, it would really come down to how much they ended up financing you and what that, that remaining, if there was no remaining cost, there's really no reason for the state to have to mess with reviewing your rates because you're not really changing anything. If you had to finance a portion of that, they would probably want to look at, I have not done one where it's been, it's either been strictly bonding dollars that's covered the whole thing, or it's been a PFA bonding dollar scenario where you're doing their whole application. But I imagine they would, part of their requirement in releasing grant dollars, if you had to cover a balance, was ensuring that you could cover that balance either through a fund transfer or, if you were taking out a small loan, were your rates gonna cover that?
So do you see a track record of what they bonded for issued last year, towns of our size, do we have a chance, or is it cities of the size of Mankato? I mean, how do we fit into this, being a little town?
Yeah, we saw last year was a really incredible year for bonding dollars, to be honest. And I don't know if that's because they had delayed a year, but there was a lot of projects awarded and across the gamut for community size and type of projects. The city of Madelia got
12.8 million.
Yeah, 12.8 million for a whole that's covering their entire street and
really?
utility improvement project. I know there's others that are just not coming to the forefront for me right now, but a lot of full amounts awarded for projects, so.
As Chelsea previously noted, the representative came to the council meeting and then his legislative assistant shortly followed up with an email asking for a more fine-tuned description of the project. We thought that was interesting. Okay, this is good. We got the email, and then so we got working with Sue, trying to put together a project area and a cost estimate. And then a couple months later, we got a follow-up email again from the legislative assistant, just, hey, where are we at? Do you have numbers for us? That's when we got very excited and we got it out the door almost immediately then.
Good.
I think that speaks highly to the city's opportunity.
So to get this all in order and they just say they issued money. Does this project get started in the year of 24? Is it in the spring of 25? If,
Yeah, we would start preliminary design in the fall of 2024. Potentially getting into construction in 2025.
okay,
Again, we could talk a lot of hypotheticals, but if the bonding bill appropriation covered 80% of the 11 million, it's likely we would come back here and recommend maybe not going the PFA route. Maybe we would go more local, right, to come up with the remaining 2 or 3 million. It's a lot of hypotheticals out there, but I
Okay.
think it's important that we show that we are doing that drinking water revolving fund it as a local match. That's what we said we would do.
all right,
Okay, sounds good.
sounds pretty good.
Cut off a couple copies.
So if we don't get it this year, we could resubmit the following year again.
For 2026.
2 years, yeah.
Yep.
2 years.
You said it would be like what?
Yeah, that road all passed. We built a new one down there. Then we could use the existing water main that we have going down the alley to feed that fire hydrant. We just have to change it down there in the middle of the street because we'd have a way of getting our water down there.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the size of some of that.
Well,
Robert.
it's a. Sure, it's a 6-inch
Okay. And
plastic
But potentially might want to be larger than that. even
yeah,
coming
from this well.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, if
really?
We're coming right out of that well. It'd be nice to likely get at least an 8-inch back into the city's system. But
Yeah.
Be final design things. We would take a look at it, absolutely.
All right,
Whatever happens, I would really like, I mean, if this actually happens, we want to be bidding like in February.
Yeah.
Okay, not wait until, I mean, it wasn't your fault or anything like that. I'm just saying, we want to get all our ducks in a row.
Yeah,
So we're bidding in February.
yeah.
They're out there in February,
that's when they're looking for.
you know. And
Okay.
the other thing is, if this remains this one big $11 million project, there's not all that many contractors who can bond 11 million bucks.
We
You
could
know,
look
these
at it.
people that bid this little job probably aren't gonna bid on all of that
No.
unless you break it up.
Mhm.
You know, then they will. So,
And you could certainly do that, right?
We
They could
would
be-
do that, to be honest. We would do that. It would be like $7.5 million for the well and water treatment facility, which is not, it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. It's not for that world. It's not
Right,
that much money.
right.
And then the 2.5 roughly for the South Halliday and the Chapel Street and Hiller Drive. We would get competitive bids on a project like that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just do it the way you got it broke down here on the map.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
How much? What kind of bond do they have to have for the whole project? Is it 10% of that, is it?
What is the bid bond?
5%. I believe.
5%?
Five,
Confirm, I
okay.
believe it's 5%.
But then they have to carry all this other stuff too, you know.
All right,
A filtration project would probably be a minimum of a year before from start to finish.
Yeah, you see a lot of them allowing a 2-year construction window for water treatment facilities.
Sounds good.
does this, and I don't know what it costs, but our old well, would this include capping our old well? Or is that probably not a big expense?
Yeah, I think that would be in there as a contingency. We would be covered with the contingency in there. It does include piping a raw water main from the existing well to the new treatment facility. So the existing well would then become the backup well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right now. And then what's now the backup well would. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of gallons per minute do you put on the new proposed water treatment? You know,
I'll have to study that one, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the answer for that.
that big one right now, Brian, is that 380 gallons a minute?
350.
Right around in there, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Would you size that up? You know, from there, you think, or?
I'm not sure on the answer for that one. We would study it during design.
All right. Well, anybody else with questions?
Sounds good.
Yes, I think it's a very nice that, good letter there.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
think it's really good, so,
Yeah, we're very hopeful and we'll see where this takes us. Absolutely.
all right.
Good.
Anybody else questions? If not, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
So look, that will be part of the agenda for Monday evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. All righty. Now we have Greg Burkhardt here to give us
I appreciate it. I got some handouts as well.
year-end report.
Thank you.
You probably had that on the tip of your tongue. If we got $11 million, we'd have to increase our water rates by 3%.
Start now. And, you know, and these guys are pretty good at what they do and they've got it handled, but the PFA is gonna hold all the projects. You know,
Oh, yeah.
if you go PFA, they're just gonna tell you, here's your rate. You know, they're not gonna give you any.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not gonna give you any choice. It could be a significant increase.
Really?
You know, so the earlier that you can determine how much you're gonna have to finance yourself, which I think you can expect you will. I haven't seen too many of these go where there is 100% binding in a small community. Vernon Center, theirs was like 10 million roughly,
Oh, really?
and it was years in the making,
It's, wow.
absolutely years in the making. So they had to do a lot of different things. You could probably talk with the clerk over there to fill you in on that one. So it's not as easy as it's not as clean as they make it seem. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Are you're the accountants over there?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yep, we do their audit, we do.
They're mainly doing sanitary sewer though, I believe, aren't they? Or are they doing fresh water? Does anybody know?
It's,
I don't know.
they're like any engineer would, worth their salt would do this. If you're gonna open up a road, you're gonna take care of sanitary, you're gonna take care of water. You get one shot at doing that. You know, these roads last 40, 50 years. The county's participating on some of it. I don't know which street, Sherman, if it's this county road. You would possibly get Plymouth County involved.
Yeah,
And they own the bituminous, 2 inches down or whatever it is up, so you'd have them, they would contribute some to the engineering and some to the street.
they, pretty much the county owns the street in front of Lumberyard there for a couple of blocks.
Okay.
And then they own that one coming in on Highway
It's a county stated highway, there could be some money available for that.
10, yeah.
That's good, but it's never as easy as they make it seem. It's,
Yeah.
it takes some work and it can take some time, so. Anyway, so over to, the audit. So as you guys, most of you are familiar to me, a couple of new faces. I am Greg Burkhardt. I represent the firm that performed the financial audit for the city of Good Thunder over your 2023 records. I've been doing this for a number of years for you folks. I appreciate the opportunity to provide auditing services. We like coming out here to the city. The council's very engaging when I come out. I enjoy this, and I want to thank you for that opportunity as well. So what I have for you tonight is very similar to what we've discussed in the past. We're gonna go over the audit process, hopefully give you guys some clues of what happens when the auditors show up to City Hall and do what we do. Take away maybe some of that uneasiness or unsureness of what's going on. So we'll talk about who holds which responsibilities as it relates to the audit. Those that lie with management in the city, those that lie with your audit firm. We'll talk about some of the results of the audit this year, findings, issues, anything that we came across. I got a handful of things professional standards require that I communicate. Touch on a few of those. Then I'll finalize this presentation with a brief overview of the financial condition of the city. Okay. I like to keep these informal as possible. So if there are questions as I'm going through any of this information, you certainly can stop me and I'm happy to answer that to whatever extent is necessary. So we'll get started here. I got those handouts that we're going to go over. Page 1, actually bottom of page 1, slide number 2, describes the responsibilities that management holds for the audit. All right, so management is Sue as the clerk treasurer. It does include department heads, and in a small community, to a certain extent, it also extends to the city council as well. So there are 2 primary responsibilities that the city holds regarding the audit. First and foremost is for your basic financial statements. Okay, so you guys are required to make all the accounting decisions. Certainly you look to your audit firm to provide guidance on those matters. But even though we assist and help and prepare the financials that you saw me deliver to Sue, that responsibility does still lie with the city. Your other primary responsibility concerning the audit is the maintenance of internal control. Your internal controls, real simple, are essentially your policies and procedures that the city has in place that will safeguard your assets, whether it's cash in the bank, CDs, investments, or capital assets, which are vehicles, equipment, infrastructure, things of that nature, as well as finding and correcting if there are any errors in your financial records. Okay. Over on page 2, slide number 3. This slide describes your audit firm's responsibilities for the audit. And our responsibilities are really threefold, and they revolve around the different reports that we provide. So if we start on the left-hand side and move right, we issue what we call a financial opinion. All right. So we look at your records, look at the balances, and we try to determine, are they fairly and accurately representing what happened in 2023? Okay. The audit standards that we apply require us to obtain audit evidence, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, what that means is if I were to tell the city council at the end of the year, you had approximately $1.6 million of cash and investments, I can prove that. I can prove it because I have audit evidence. I have support for all of those numbers. As a matter of fact, all the numbers that you see in your financial report are backed by that same level of evidence. They are numbers that you can rely on to make decisions throughout the year. The middle section on slide 3 describes our report over your internal controls. Again, those policies and procedures. We see something missing or we see something that's not operating the way that it's intended. We describe that in a report and let you guys know about that. And then finally, on the right-hand side, we also provide a report over Minnesota legal compliance. All right, so every government in Minnesota is required to be evaluated against 7 broad categories of compliance. State auditor demands this. And we actually spend an awful lot of time during the audit looking at invoices, looking at bills. We evaluate how your cash and investments are held in the financial institutions, and a number of different things that we go over. And we spend a lot of time there such that if there was an instance of non-compliance, we could find it. And if we find it, we have a report on that. Okay. Slide number 4, bottom of page 2 is a brief summary of the results for the year. So right at the top there under financial opinion, this is something you've seen in the past, so let me explain this. You do have a qualified opinion on your governmental activities. And qualified doesn't mean good. All right, I'll just put that out there. It's sometimes it's a little counterintuitive. What you want to see is unmodified. So you're qualifying a certain section of your audit because the city has chosen not to perform actuary work on your fire relief pension plan. Okay. This decision was made 5-6 years ago when the standards became applicable, and you guys made the decision that we don't want to spend the money it would take to develop the report. You need to hire another firm to do that, to incorporate it in your financial audit. All right, so if your decision on that or your opinion on that changes, we can certainly put you in touch with some firms that can perform that type of work that will give you the information or give us the information we need to incorporate it in your audit. Might be a good idea if you end up having a situation where you're looking for the PFA to fund some of your water and sewer work, because those are federal dollars, and you're going to want to make sure that your audit opinion is clean.
Right, because isn't on the federal level, isn't it? Isn't that a requirement on federal level to report those pensions?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a requirement on every level. So if you're a government entity, you're required to, and the reason that we have to bring in that fire relief is because you want to put it this way, you're on the hook for any deficits that may happen in that relief association. Even though they're an autonomous group, even though they're a nonprofit, they have their own charter or bylaws, The city is statutorily required to make up any deficits.
Okay.
So if their investments underperform, if anything happens there, you guys are on the clock, and that's why they're, I don't want to get too technical in that accounting terms, but their net pension asset or liability would, it should be listed on your financial statements.
So they have their own auditing firm, right?
I'm unaware.
That's good, you know.
I'm sure they have an accounting firm that performs.
You're
work. Whether or
required.
Not they're doing an audit. It's really don't matter.
But you never get a report
That
or?
it doesn't suffice for what we need.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be an actuary. And you have to be licensed as an actuary. There's basically two in Minnesota that do all the work. And you would be looking at approximately $5,000 to have this report generated. Then,
Yearly.
well, it's over a 2-year period. So you pay, let's say, for instance, you pay 3,500 year one, you pay 25 the next year, 1,500 the next year. So it's on average about 5,000.
I misunderstood that. I thought that we were providing you what you needed through the fire department already, but it's not. So we'll have to make sure that.
And it's
That's
unlikely the fire department's gonna be willing to pay for this, you know, so that, and really, I don't blame them because the benefit doesn't lie with the Relief Association, it lies with the city. So if you were going to go forward this sort of thing, you know, we got a number of our smaller communities where the city actually pays for that work. Because the
Yeah.
report it does impact your financials more so than it would Relief financials.
Okay.
So something to think about.
Yeah.
Again, as you get moving towards possibly having some federal dollars come through here, it might not be a bad idea. To get a handle on where that pension plan lies. All right, so except for not incorporating that pension plan, we found the rest of the records. Your audited financial statements do fairly state the results of 23. So other than that small element, everything is in good shape. The middle section there describes our report over internal control. We did have 3 findings this year. They are findings that you've seen. A few of them are reoccurrences that have probably been in place for 20 years and they'll probably be in place 20 years after we're all moved on to bigger and better things. But I do think they're all important. You should really think about and talk about those so you can help kind of mitigate some things that are potentially involved there. So the first one you see listed is called material audit adjustments. It's under material weaknesses. Okay, it's just a category of findings that we have. The reason that you have this one this year, and I believe this one's been present in the past, is due to the number and magnitude of some of the adjustments that were necessary from your records, how they're held in Banyan, to how you see them in those financial reports. Okay, we performed a number of journal entries this year, and we kind of anticipated that was the case. And I don't, you know, I think Sue, you're doing a wonderful job. A lot of this is, some of this is outside your control or what you would be able to address, at least having, you know, limited experience in governments. Okay, so I'll just put that out there. But we don't have a choice. We have to show it as a finding because it did exceed what we call materiality, which is a dollar amount that we use to evaluate adjustments, changes, omissions, things of that nature. And there were a number of entries that exceeded that materiality threshold. Our recommendation there is simply review the journal entries. Do your best to understand why they were there. If you don't, we can certainly work with you on those. And for those that you're comfortable, willing, and able to perform on your own behalf, the city's behalf, we ask that you do that. You're gonna be in a better place if you perform those journal entries, you perform those adjustments, and have your audit firm review that. You'll always have a better result if that's the case.
We had kind of a rough year in 23. You know, John was great, to come in, step up.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we had difficulties in the year 23.
Yeah, wasn't the easiest year.
So I mean, you know, do you see that from maybe the last quarter of the year, things got better?
Well, I think it's telling what you don't see on this report, quite honestly. A number of our small communities will have a material adjustment finding. Just because you don't have the wherewithal, or you don't have all the accounting personnel that can get in there and do some of those things. I mean, it's very time consuming. There's an awful lot that's needed. And we'll talk about the adjustments here in a little bit. Some of the adjustments were corrections of just mistakes. But some of them take some pretty significant understanding of the accounting rules, the pensions, things that are very difficult to do. So this is a common finding, one that we see frequently. Again, it doesn't mean that it's not important and you should consider it. But what's not listed here, I think, is even more telling. So let me just kind of get through the next two that we do have listed here. So the two elements that you see under significant deficiencies, the auditor prepared financial statements and limited segregation of duties. These are the two that I was referring to that have been present for years, decades, and will stay put. And they're really due to having a small office. Sue having the office of clerk treasurer, she holds too many accounting responsibilities than what you would ideally like to see, or what the accounting standards would like to see. Well, that's difficult to have in a small office in a small city. You would need probably 3 more staff members in there to get all of that separated out. Now, it doesn't mean that something went wrong in that regard, but it does increase the likelihood that something could.
Right.
Okay, and it's not always fraud. You know, that's always kind of what's in the back of everyone's mind, and it should be. But a lot of times it's just simple errors. You know, miscoding a check to the wrong place, making a keystroke error. Some of those things can happen if you're the only one that's reviewing, right? So what I suggest, or what our firm recommends, is that the council take an active role in the financial condition of the city. You know, review bills, take a look at those claims lists. And if something comes across the table that doesn't fit your expectations, ask questions. I think that's the best defense that you can have is, does it make sense? Am I expecting to see this payment, this vendor, whatever it is, and make inquiry? And a lot of times that's all you need to do to uncover some things that are possibly in error. Okay. So what we didn't see here was a lot of the payroll issues that had been present in the past. I thought payroll ran very well. It appeared to us that all the filing had been made and was made timely. The payments were being deposited correctly, and very pleased to see that, you know. So a lot of the payroll penalties and things of that nature had subsided this year. So that's certainly an improvement and a good trend to see. So hopefully we can continue that. Now the bottom of slide number 4, listed under Minnesota statutes legal compliance findings. Unfortunately, we did note one compliance finding this year. It's one that catches a lot of people by surprise, and this one relates to having your investment broker acknowledge the restrictions that are placed on governments with what they're able to invest with. Okay. Statute basically says every year annually before you contract with an investor or an investment broker, you need them to sign and have that form sealed. Now, Sue was unaware of this, and unfortunately compliance is kind of like that. You know, I don't work with too many cities that just say, you know what, we're not going to follow the law. A lot of times we had no idea that we had to file this form or do this or that. So that's one of the risks that is involved with compliance. I will say 2024 has been handled. So that form was delivered to the investment broker, was signed and returned. 23, it didn't happen.
So investment broker, would that be like what we invested in a CD here with
CDs are a little bit different.
is this a CD?
CDs
Yeah,
are
it is a
little bit-
CD.
This is, who are your investments with? Is it Ameriprise?
Yeah.
LPL.
LPL, there you go. Yeah, so it's LPL. It, you know, we'll call your CDs investments, but they don't follow the statutes that we're referring to here.
Like cash.
Would we be
Yeah.
better off to have more money and things like this versus where we have it right now?
That's a great question. You know, I think CDs are paying well right now. So I encourage you to continue investing with those CDs, but they do come with a little bit of risk because you have to concern yourselves with liquidity. What I mean by that is you could get a great interest rate, you tie up your money for 3 years, but unfortunately your money's tied up. You're not able to carve off a piece of that CD to make your bill. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of balance, you know, the rate of return that you could receive versus, you know, what are you giving up? And you're giving up a little bit of flexibility if you purchase CDs. Your LPL money, I believe you can withdraw that
But
the
if
same
we,
day if you want.
if we broke them up, you know, and had,
Ladder them.
which we've done, right?
Well, that's what we did there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
that here.
That's exactly what I would recommend.
Yeah.
You know, 3-month increments or 6-month increments. So you'd buy a 6-month, a 12-month, an 18-month. And every 6 months, you have a CD that rolls over. So if you ever needed that cash, it would be available to you.
Would you ever do it in one entity or would you have multiple entities to do a CD?
It really depends on the rate and your relationship with the banks.
Okay,
You know, I think it never hurts to get some competition, never hurts to check who else, you know, these banks have the ability, they may put rates on their sign out front or on the website, but it's negotiable. You know, and I've seen it many, many times where cities come in and say, hey, we've got $5 million with you guys, we want to buy a CD and we want a better interest rate. And a lot of times they'll play ball with you, so.
what would your recommendation be? To go with things like this or keep them where we have them now?
Now, when you say this, you mean. CDs?
Well, I mean, break them up and put them in a CD versus where we have them in them other two areas.
You know, yeah, if you were smart about it or just thoughtful with it and you laddered those, like I mentioned, you know, issue those. I don't mean issue them on like 2 or 3 month CDs, but make sure that you have CDs that mature every 2 or 3 months or 6 months. I think.
Every quarter or something.
Yeah, so, yeah, and if you start paying engineers who are quite costly,
Yes,
you have that money to cash flow. So I think that's a good way to go, you know, and there is no perfect answer, Robert. I can't say, yeah, go this way or stay with LPL. But CDs are paying great right now, so you certainly, as it stands today, CDs will do well.
when did we invest this? Beginning of the year?
Last fall.
Was it last fall already? Okay,
Towards the end of the year.
So this is-
$250,000.
yeah,
It's one of them, yeah.
which is 128 balance here. So it would have been $125,000 one, right? We broke that
Yeah, we had
$250.
$225,000.
Yeah. Because it made $3,160 year to date, so in 6 months on 125, it made 3,160. And that other ones weren't making that money, right?
Yeah, we had recommendations for years for you guys to try to get better earnings, because you have, you know, significant cash balances. And putting them to work, especially if you don't need them right away, is really the whole idea that you want to have. The city will be in a better place ultimately if you do that.
Who would recommend the city to do that? The auditor?
We have.
Yeah.
You know, but clerk treasurer is the one that really can take the lead and give the information that you guys need.
Yeah, and over time, I think LPL has probably far exceeded everything that we've gotten in CDs, you know. Because only in the past year, a little over a year is when the interest rates have started to creep up, where, you know, before was less than a percentage.
Yeah, we weren't making anything on it.
For a while, they had you.
Wouldn't have been in this either.
No,
See, that's what he's saying is
And
you
you
just
are
can't.
limited, so, you know, that's one thing, there's a risk involved with working with an investment broker, it's. Not used to work, a lot of them aren't used to working in governments, you know, and you're held to basically CDs. Government bonds and notes, money market funds, that's really where you're limited to. So, at least as it stands now, I know there's some talk in St. Paul about maybe widening that availability to invest. As it stands now, it's CDs and government bonds and notes. So, okay, good discussion. So moving on to page 3. Top of page 3, slide 5, actually slide 5 and 6, contains some information that my standards require that I communicate to the council. I'm not gonna spend an awful lot of time on either one of these slides. This information you see in front of you is more fully developed in a report that I provided to Sue. It's called a management report. And it goes over this in much greater detail, and the time that I'm allotted tonight, I can't do it justice. So I'm gonna touch on a couple of things. So top of page 5 or slide 5, under auditor assurance, I always like to enumerate this and describe what this is saying to you. So you've already heard me say that your internal controls seem to be in better shape this year. Your compliance, something came up, but it was more of an oversight. You know, so things overall are really good, and you'll see later on that, you know, the finances are looking good as well. But what I want you to understand is that audits provide reasonable assurance. We cannot be perfect, right? I cannot tell you absolutely this is how it is. You know, we don't design our audits that way. We don't look at every check written, look at every deposit that's made. We sample and we gain that reasonableness, all right? So what the takeaway message there is, there are no guarantees in an audit. And I would ask the council to continue Your involvement, don't rest on your laurels and say, you know, the auditor said everything's fine, we can just take the rest of the year off. And I know you guys don't do that, but that's what that's trying to communicate to you. Slide number 6 describes some of the changes, some of the adjustments that I've already mentioned to your financial records. This year we had 32 journal entries. 22 of those we consider corrections. 11 of those corrections were material. All right, so that's kind of what required us to describe your internal control finding related to material adjustments. I will say, on the right-hand side there, we are also required to talk about any difficulties encountered during the audit. Sue, I thought you did a wonderful job. That's the reports I got back from the audit team. You seem prepared. Your willingness and your attitude were fabulous. That's everything I heard back from those guys. So that definitely helps. Every item that we selected for testing, she was able to provide to us. And it looks as though the records are in really good shape. Very happy with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so on to page 4. We do have some recommendations this year. And I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I will very happily explain what we're talking about here. And this again is also included in that management report. So there are, what is that, 5 different things listed there. I want to touch on 2. Okay. The second one that's shown discusses how you guys are handling your utility billing. Okay. And I know you bill quarterly and you're manually entering information from the billing program into your fund accounting program.
But it will be monthly.
Are you moving to monthly?
We're moving to monthly, right?
Eventually,
Eventually, yeah, not right.
We're gonna do that first May. No, we're gonna go
Okay,
monthly.
good.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we're strongly recommending. That's gonna help your
Yeah.
cash flow.
Yeah.
It's gonna help collections.
Yeah,
It's easier to pay a bill $100 a month than it is to pay $300 once a quarter. You know, so I think you're gonna get better compliance with that and more people will pay. We're also suggesting to switch from cubic yards or meters.
we're already doing it to gallons.
All right, hey, that works. You guys taking all the wind out of my
I
sails.
think it was
here.
$94,000 that we spent to,
Good.
and
I know there was a reason for it, because I have asked about it in the past, but it just fits with the billing program. It eliminates some of the errors, some of the conversion that's necessary.
I think we're down to 15 meters in our town that need to be upgraded and the whole thing will be gallons.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
That's all happened in the first 8 days of this year.
Yeah, they should be done tomorrow. It's
Fabulous.
mostly done, 99% done tomorrow.
So, and
Definitely moving in the right direction. Okay, well, then the last piece of that one has to do with how the billing program is utilized. So you guys you're familiar with the term Banyan. That's the accounting system that you have. You have Banyan, which is fund accounting. That's your general ledger. Houses all your data. You have complementary systems. One is payroll and another is utility billing. All of these programs are separate, but they don't talk to one another. Okay. So what we found was that your utility billing program isn't talking to your fund accounting, your general ledger. And it has the ability to basically import data with just the touch of a button. What's nice there is you eliminate some of the manual entry that's necessary. You eliminate the potential for errors or things to go wrong. And I think you just simply streamline the office. So we're suggesting that you implement this process. You're already doing it with payroll. It's almost identical methodology to go through. Let's get this batching utility over fund account. Right? It's gonna save some time and it's gonna save any potential for errors.
would refuge fall under that?
It does.
Yes. It does, yeah.
So is this something that we're missing? Okay, so,
It's capabilities the program has that aren't being used. I think that's maybe the best way to describe
okay,
it.
so it's, okay, so, because I'm confused and Sue and I are talking with our eyes right now. So, because well, okay. With our new meters that we're getting to convert to gallons, we're also getting a new program that will be implemented here, or is probably partially in the works. But I am wondering then, because I thought we were utilizing whatever transfers from utility into fund. I thought those were already in place, or is that something that you've been
Additional
doing?
Pieces, yeah, it's not really what we found. So this, I don't know what the new program is that you're referring, are you talking about meter reading?
Yeah, we're getting a new meter
Okay.
reader that's gonna be dumping into Banyan, so.
Yes, so that also I would encourage you to do. That's, again, that takes away that manual process. It
Right.
takes away the potential for keystroke errors. But now, once the bills are created, you send that over to fund accounting. Like when you create the quarterly bills, hopefully it'll be monthly or soon, and then when you receive payment, that also can transfer, we call it batch transfers.
Right,
From one system to the next.
Right.
Again, we'll streamline that process. It will make the entire accounting system more efficient and less likely for error. As long as the connections are made properly, as long as you set that program up the right way, it's not a set it and forget it, but you have more, you can have more reliance on it, more assurance that it's doing what it needs to do.
so is that something that we obviously haven't been doing? So is that something that
We can
you're,
assist you with that, yeah.
but I mean, is that something that your team was then on some of these year-end entries? Is that something that,
Yeah, I think so.
okay,
I
all
think
right,
so. I don't have a list of your journal entries in front of me. But some of that, yes.
Okay.
But others of it, again, it's additional work that isn't.
okay, well, that's something that soon I can follow up with Banyan to see, because I'm assuming,
Well, and I would like to, because Banyan, we know the program well, we know how we want it to operate, and we can kind of sift through some of their their tech support kind of speak. So before you implement that, there's certain actions that need to happen.
okay,
Because you gotta catch up everything that you've done from January first till now.
okay,
And there's a good way to do that and there's bad. And you don't want to go down the road where you make a mistake there because it's a lot of work to fix.
so is that something Sue can reach out to Paul or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We'd be very happy to kind of guide you through that process.
Okay,
To get you
alright.
set up there.
Okay,
So,
So can we set it up as a city that it's always direct pulled out of a bank account?
you certainly could.
Okay, because then. Like I was here today talking to Sue and she got multiple people bringing in checks. So you got that there. But then, we can set it up that it's automatically taken out of, just say, for instance, my trucking company. So I don't have to write 12 checks out. It's automatically taken out every month.
Yep.
So,
A lot of people like that, but some don't.
Yeah.
I don't think you can mandate it, but you can certainly offer it. And there are vendors out there that you can team with that work with Banyan that can pull that through.
well, is that gonna be two different things there to make sure that that gets in? And it like, to me, her taking them down there as a manual, putting them in the bank, where with that withdrawal, will that both fall under?
It would automate it and you'd get reports that can be downloaded into the program, from what I understand. So then again, that takes that manual piece out of there, that potential for error. I don't know a lot about that side, I'll be honest. I know that it is available and it's offered. That might be something we're speaking to Banyan about.
but we do have PCN
PSN.
that was set up long ago. It's
Yeah, that's what I
online,
thought, yeah.
and,
But you're talking like auto payment.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I would encourage going.
So you
Yeah,
can
you're
set-
allowing people to go to the website to pay the bill if they
Right.
choose.
Right,
This is a whole different matter.
Yeah, I wanna just automatic.
Draw it.
Yeah.
You know when it's coming out, it's on the 25th every month or whatever it is, and it pulls.
PSN
Does
will
this-
do that.
Yeah, you can set that.
Does this,
PSN will do that. You can pay it monthly, or you can just, they'll automatically take X amount of dollars out.
does the city have to send out informational thing saying, on the 18th of April, there's gonna be $187?
I think you would still mail your bill.
Mhm.
You would always get
Okay.
a bill, but on the bill, it would say it's gonna be auto paid.
Okay,
as
all right.
needed. Yeah.
Because if you're set up with Blue Earth County that way to pay your real estate taxes, you get a letter like, what, a week or 10 days before the actual time.
Yep.
Stating that, okay,
Yeah, that'd be a great thing to do. Again, then I think your collections would improve.
Yeah.
Less delinquents, if you can kind of, coax people into going down that route.
so we have an individual or two that pays monthly.
Mhm.
So does he figure it out or do they figure it out by the quarter then and say if it's, it takes $87 per month? Is that how they're kind of paying it or is?
They just come in and pay X amount of dollars a month.
Okay,
And it's usually paid up by, sometimes there's $20 that's still owing at the end of the quarter. It's not anything huge.
Because here, what, 2 or 3 months ago, we had what, $13,000 out there. You know, and that's when we got aggressive again and had to put the hangers on the doors and everything else. And hopefully this going monthly will eliminate a lot of
I
that.
think it will, because that's the risk with going quarterly. I mean, you're collecting the same money, but it's, people have a harder time.
Yep,
you know.
especially after the holidays.
Yeah,
That's a bad one.
yep,
Yep.
I would imagine, so, okay, excellent. The next one you see listed there. This is one of those, again, I think it was just simply an oversight, so if we, I know the font is pretty small, so essentially what we found. As we were investigating the utility billing, we found that bill group 4, you guys have multiple bill groups, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure why they're set up the way that they are, but we found that bill group 4 had not been updated for your updated rates. It's still on the old rates. So, you know, it's up to the city how you want to look at that. You know, you passed a resolution or approval to change your rates. Some of your residents, some of your customers weren't paying the correct rate. I didn't do the math to determine how much you lost out on. I don't think it's significant. Do you know, Sue, what bill group 4 refers to?
Bill group 4 is the budget billing. And I actually worked with Banyan today regarding this, and for some reason, neither one of us could find where that was. So I'm gonna have to call them. I've got to call in tomorrow anyways with them.
To find where the rates
And-
get put in?
Well, to find that specific grade, because I don't think the person I was talking to was understanding what I was asking.
Yeah, that's the problem with Banyan sometimes. It really depends on the tech support person you land.
Correct. So I've got to call into Heidi tomorrow with our new water meters, and I will ask her to show me this. And if I mean, is that something that I can just correct then, or does it have to be through a motion, or what it's?
To correct it. The motion was already made to put
Okay.
that rate where it's at. What you need to decide is, do you ask for your customers to pay the difference? You know, because the rate was lower that they were being charged than what everybody else in the city was being charged.
When was that initiated? Like a year ago now?
22, I think, is when you guys increased the rates.
And it's still not in place now yet?
Mhm.
Really? Wow. So that's.
So you don't know by chance, you don't know how much of an effect it had. If there's like, okay, I'm just wondering if there was like
It could.
5 residents, 50
I think
residents.
bill group 4 is smaller.
It is.
It definitely is smaller. But there's, you know, you look at the relative amounts, you could probably do some math on it without too much trouble. You take whatever you bill those individuals at that rate, figure out the difference between the new, and it's unlikely to be significant. But to one resident, one household, it might,
Right.
you know, so, do that what you may, but you certainly need to get it updated.
Yep.
And then evaluate when you do that, make sure you're getting every one of your bill groups.
So we'd want that updated now when you start monthly.
I will take care of that tomorrow.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, so that's really the biggest ones. There was some discussion at the bottom here on this page about expenditures. More so on how the credit cards being, the descriptions on the credit card payments. I would just ask, instead of putting Visa or charges, that you describe the vendor.
Right, yeah.
Because you're not gonna be able to query the system and say, okay, we went to Napa and Mankato to get some parts for the vehicle. You're never gonna know if all it says is just charges. So I'd ask that in your description, if you're gonna use a credit card, please put vendor in there and then what you purchase. So that it can always be reviewed. So when the council does look at, you know, some of these reports, they know what they're looking at without having to ask. As well as your audit firm. And just having good, complete records. So it's more of a smaller kind of a detail, but something I did wanna, just ask the city change there. So, okay.
And one thing maybe we should ask Sue to do is have the original copy of the bills. We used to have it from Cheryl.
Yeah.
It was always in a vanilla folder, the original bill.
Mhm,
And that would explain the Visa to Napa was for a fan belt.
mhm.
So we could see that and we kind of took a peek at it as the meeting went on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have them. I just have them attached to the
Yeah.
checks, but I can definitely set them out here. You don't all want copies, so you just want to.
No, just
choose to
no,
look
Put
at
them
it.
in that one vanilla envelope and yep. That way, all of us are looking at them.
Yeah.
And you could have a question.
That's a great way to do it. Now, you're also, and I'm just gonna ask this because I know it's been an issue in the past. when you present a claims list for approval
Mhm.
at the monthly meetings, are you doing that through Banyan? Or are you typing that into an Excel sheet?
No, I print off from Banyan, and that was when I first started.
Fabulous.
Whoever the auditor was telling us that's how we should do it, so we got it set up that way.
Yep. Code them into a payment batch. You
Yep.
can print that. Here's your claims list, hand it to the council, report anything paid between the meeting. Here's what you need to approve tonight. Perfect. Again, the less manual entry that you can work with, the less opportunity there is for error. So if it's in Banyan, you know you're in much better shape. So I definitely support that.
I do have a question for you regarding the credit card, and not necessarily the credit card, but our charges on the US Bank. There's just US Bank, and that lists the credit card charges and the miscellaneous fees, the analysis fees that with the bank charges. Should those be broken up under two categories or two different, like the credit card one and then the bank? Cause right now we're using them interchangeably.
Are you putting them to like bank fees?
No, I'm listing, like bolts and nuts or whatever. But like, we'll also get like analysis charges.
What is an analysis charge?
It's a fee the bank charges, and I never get
I think I've seen that on here.
Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's a monthly fee we get for our,
It's like $83 or
for
something.
the checks and for the paper.
It was like 60 to
Yeah, it's-
$75 last summer. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I think I've seen that under here somewhere.
It's from community.
it's,
No, it's.
no, it's from US Bank. Yeah. Their fees that they charge monthly for
Yeah.
whatever.
Because the banks, yeah, they're.
Yeah, but should those be broken? Should we just have like the US Bank credit card? As a vendor, and then the US Bank as a vendor is my question, because like I said, right now,
I got you.
it's all listed
You could.
smucked together
Yeah,
and
I think that would make sense. And Banyan doesn't handle credit card charges as well as some other accounting systems. But I think just as long as you're taking the time to put the vendor in, so you get your statement, hopefully you got receipts for all of those from whoever's using cards. Then you throw those charges in, you can put in a payment batch, you're paying US Bank. All the details are itemized out in there with all the information that you. And at that point, your analysis chart or whatever it is,
Mhm.
is in there. But having a separate vendor for your checking US Bank versus your credit card US Bank, yeah, that makes sense. I think that would work. So. Okay. Moving on, so we've got through the majority of the audit itself, the legalese, if you will. So from here forward, we're gonna touch on financial conditions, okay? We're gonna look at where the city was a few years back, how you're sitting today, and hopefully that'll give us some ideas on where you're gonna be in the short term. So over on to page 5. Slide number 9, we've got a summary of highlights for the year. So I looked over the financial report and I kind of plucked out a handful of things that I thought was noteworthy and something to be proud of and happy of. So you see those listed there. Your cash and investment went up a little bit this year. You had an awful lot of expenses this year, 23 that is. So having it increase is actually a good thing. Doesn't seem like it, but it is. Your general fund balance saw a very nice increase. And you had some really good profit in the general fund as well. Okay, so we'll get into some of the details here. We look at slide 10. This is a chart that shows, or bar graph that shows your cash and investment balances. All right, so we have 5 years listed. The orange section of this chart is your investments. The blue is your demand accounts, your checking. Okay. And you had some ebbs and flows as you look at it from 19 through, you kind of dipped down there in 21. I do believe there was some sewer work that was happening around that time frame. Some money paid to the county, then you guys kind of returned back to normal in 2022 and 23. All right, so what's kind of changed though is your orange section of that cash and investment balance has grown. All right, so at the end of the year, you had about 540,000 in the checkbook. Tom mentioned, how are we gonna pay for some of these bills as they come due? And that's something to consider, as you issue more CDs or more investments, does take it out of your checkbook. Doesn't allow you to use it as you need it. So just keep a close eye on your balances in your transactional account so that you don't run yourself short. Now, I'm not suggesting that you are, but it's certainly something to be aware of. All right.
Do you remember in 2020 is when they did this project out here? And the city did not pay Blue Earth County until 21. It was 300 and some $1,000.
Yeah. That was
Remember that?
that was quite a
That
drop.
was before I was-
And that's
that was
why
before I was-
you're right.
Okay, Tom, you remember that? Remember that?
Now that you say that, yeah, you're right. So it was right towards the end of the year and then it
Well, it should have been taken care of because I believe it went way into the third quarter of the following year before it ever got paid. What, you know?
Yeah.
That's a very large amount of money not to
can't
be.
believe Florida County didn't
That's right.
have a bigger issue with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that now. So
Yep.
that's kind of, that explains some of that dip that you had.
Yep.
Of course, but otherwise fairly stable. You know, and that's kind of what you want. You want to see that cash balance kind of remain where it's at. The table below the bar graph there describes your reserves. So what we've done is we've taken all your cash and investment and we've turned it into how many days can you operate under annual conditions? It doesn't have a lot of relevance other than it's a great way to kind of just benchmark yourself with previous years. So we just focus on 23 there. You can see the city, for your governmental, okay, I should probably explain that, your governmental general fund. Predominantly, there's some other things that go on there, but that's your general fund. The business type is that water, sewer, and refuse. Yeah, and the blue governmental at the end of the year in 23 had nearly 700 days of cash reserves. So that's about 23 months. Very good.
Mm.
Very, very good. I was at seeing all that presentation earlier tonight and that's sitting in 23 months. So you guys are outpacing some of your peer groups, quite honestly. So I'm very happy with that. Your business type is sitting just a little bit less, approximately 21. And that's a significant amount more than what we see with other utility companies. So, I think you can be very happy with the reserves that you guys do have in place.
But if Bolton Mink keeps coming back, we won't have it.
And we could talk all night about how you need to be careful with that sort of thing. You guys are smart people, you understand this, but the engineers, their bills usually come, they precede any construction work. And
Yep.
it makes sense, because they gotta roll the design, their books that they put together.
Stuff invested, time invested.
And your funding isn't in place. And they're gonna hand you an invoice and another
Yep.
invoice, so just be aware that you're gonna need some money available once that gets off the ground. So, anyway, page 6, got 2 slides here, I'll kind of look at them in tandem. The slide 11, that's your general fund. Describes your fund balance, okay? Wouldn't be an auditor worth my salt if I didn't talk about fund balance. And when you hear the term fund balance, what I want you to think is net worth. Okay, so what's the net worth of the general fund? And we've got that fund balance kind of broken out into 2 categories. You have your total, which is the red, and your unassigned, which is the green. Okay, when you hear the term unassigned, I want you to think discretionary. Meaning the council can choose to use that fund balance how you want. There are certain fund balances that you can't. So a great, for instance, this year you guys received public safety money, right? I forget exactly what it was, $15,000. You can't use that to go buy a new pickup for the maintenance shop, right? You can only use it on public safety, so it's restricted to these particular purposes. Well, this green that you see on slide number 11 at the top of that bar graph, that represents discretionary resources the city holds that you can use how you want. All right, and we look at that number to try to determine how healthy is the general fund. Okay, so what I want you to do is go to the table below that chart. And that very first line, it says fund balance percentage. I'm not gonna explain everything that goes into that, but what I will say, if your fund balance percentage is over, state says you should be about 40 or 50%. I would argue you should be about 75. You're over 75, your general fund is doing very, very well. And as I look at that, you guys have exceeded 75% for every year listed other than 2019. And you were right there. So, general fund's in great shape, okay?
Where do you get that one? I lost you on that one.
Page 11 or slide.
Yeah, I got that.
The table
Yeah.
below the chart.
Oh, okay, up there. All right, I was looking down on the bottom.
Okay, no,
I'm sorry, my
oh,
fault.
you're fine. And what those percentages represent, again, is how much you have kind of tucked away in relation to how much you spend annually. Okay, so 100% means you spend annually $500,000, you have $500,000 reserves. Anything beyond that means you have more tucked away, more in reserves than what you can spend. And what I see there is fabulous. You guys have an excellent general fund and in relation to your expenditures for the year.
Just a second, when that garbage one, you know, that Tom brought up there. I think we've always had some cleanup days money. Did that somewhere along the line not get put into that fund is why that's showing a deficit?
I didn't wanna step on any toes when that discussion started, but it was my understanding that we all agreed that cleanup days, spring cleaning, fall cleaning would be paid for by the general fund.
Yeah, but did not get
You're
moved.
not billing for it, so I don't know. Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if it's.
Because like Tom said, we thought there was a motion made because, yeah, that comes out of the general fund.
Yeah, that you're talking to get rid of the deficit that's in the refuse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did not see any notice of that or any indication that that was done. If you're going to, though, a motion's not sufficient.
yeah,
You need resolution.
Resolution.
Yeah, okay.
You need
So-
resolution.
if we're gonna have cleanup on June 15th, we'd have to do that upcoming meeting because it would show a bigger deficit now then, right?
True.
Because cleanup days, Tom, what do you think?
Are you invoiced separately for those events?
We get,
yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Then you pull that invoice and I would like to see you record it to the general fund. Don't even put it in the refuse. I mean,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
it's a refuse invoice, it's LJP or whoever you're using.
Mhm.
But it's a government, it's a quality of life sort of thing, you know, and you don't
Okay.
you're not directly charging your customers.
right,
So,
it's a freebie.
yeah, it
Oh,
is,
yeah,
and that
okay.
means, and it, well, it's not freebie, it's covered by the levy, it's covered by all your other revenues. That belongs to the general fund.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
I would encourage you to do that every year, put that, and that's what's driving some of the deficits in that refuse. And we'll talk about that here. That's the next page. So, you beat me to the punch on that one. So, ultimately, so on the page 6, slide 12, your budget schedule. Okay, so the only thing here that jumps out at, well, there's a handful of things that jump out at me on this page. The very top row, revenues, that blue highlighted row. You can see your budget, you can see actual, and you can see your variance. You guys are $120,000 over budget in your revenues. Okay,
Good place to be, right?
and yes, definitely, if you're going over, that's where you wanna be. I usually try to get some clues on what's going on there, but I looked at your revenues. And no one of your revenues jumped out at me as far as this one is so much more than what we saw in the past, or this one is so much more than what we saw in the past. I think you're just under budgeting. I think the revenue budget needs some work. I think there needs to be some changes there to make sure that you're updating those values to fit the specifics of what you're expecting to see. You know, a great, for instance, you budgeted local government aid under by like $20,000 of what you were gonna collect. You know, those amounts are published every fall. So you go on the websites and you can pull that information in, you know, start with the ones that you know for sure you're gonna receive. And then use history to kind of gauge everything else.
That would be the money received from Blue Earth County.
The levy.
There was a reason for that. We did that for a
Those
reason.
sorts of things.
Can't remember.
Yeah. Cause you don't wanna see a budget variance of 120,000, you know, you're not doing yourselves any favors. Let's be realistic with this. So that you know you're gonna receive this, we can plan our expenditures a little bit better. So if we move down below that, the orange highlighted section under expenditures. You have some pretty significant overages there in a category that we call current. It's more just. Things that you purchase, and as soon as you purchase them, they're gone. So like your electric bill, your salaries, supplies that you're using up, those sorts of things. The next line below that is capital outlay. Those are expenditures the city has that will have future benefit. So you buy a pickup, you're gonna be use that pickup for 5, 6, 7 years. So your current expenses, you were over budget by 137,000. Majority of that had to do with the street repairs that were made this year. There was a number of that done. And it was budgeted at $5,000 and you spent $130,000.
Right,
So
right.
hopefully that was contemplated, but it would be good if you could kind of, you know, build that in advance. You know, you want to be watching those. Capital outlay kind of had the flip side of that where you had a bunch of equipment in mind, I would assume, and it never came through. So overall, the general fund did a pretty good job notwithstanding some of those budget changes, you had a profit of $93,000. And that's really what we've expected that's what the general fund has historically had. So you can take my comments with a grain of salt. But if it were me, I'd want to see my budgets come in a little bit closer and make them have relevance and have meaning. Because then if they do go over, now you can start talking about what's happening. Why are we?
Right.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that and almost the whole thing there, so we didn't seal coat. I mean, that's the decision it takes. We decide to not seal coat for 1 year when we budget $90,000 or whatever it was for that one expenditure and we don't do it. And then that, because we have other things looming in next year, you know.
And that does happen, and as long as that awareness is made, I come in, sort of after the dust settles and you don't always see that.
Yep.
But if you understand that, okay, we had seal coat planned and we're gonna divert that to another category, you can change those budgets. You can make a budget amendment. I'd be very cautious with that. You want to do that by resolution as well. But you certainly have the ability to make those kind of in-season changes.
Another thing that would affect this, which is only, what was our snow blower, 88,000, 8,200?
Yeah, like 8,200.
We made a motion to buy that last in business year of 23.
Yeah.
We still haven't picked it up and we haven't paid for it yet, right?
Yeah, we paid for
It's
it.
paid.
Oh, it was paid for in 23?
No,
No.
no, it was paid for
Couple.
last month.
Okay, so see that was made in 23, paid for in
And you're gonna-
24.
You're gonna take your lumps in 24 on your budget. Because you had the cash outlay in this year, so.
But it is
But,
that
some
kind
of
of
this
thing.
stuff is,
Just.
it's difficult to pull out your crystal ball and know what's gonna happen, in 12 to 18 months forward. So again, but working with those budgets and keeping an eye on them can never hurt. And it allows better control of what's happening and better awareness, and understanding of where those finances are going.
Was the trucks, when was the truck purchased?
December
And that had to get paid for. Well, we picked it up, so that was in,
yeah, it was the end
because
of
what we
23.
spend 40,000,
4.
42, 4, 5. So that, at least that got put in its same home business year.
Yep, and I believe that was part of the 86,000 you see listed there.
Okay.
So again,
We can
really
make,
nitpicky, but the general fund's doing well. And again, I'm an auditor. That's,
we're doing well. I
Mhm.
I wasn't aware that we could actually make budget amendments, through resolution. We can actually, at every meeting, do what you want to do at the end, once a year.
if you were gonna go down that route, Tom, what I would suggest is do a semi, like at the 6-month mark. Say, okay, we hoped we would be here and we thought this was gonna happen, but it didn't, and we have other priorities, so you can make some of those changes to that expenditure budget. You can't add appropriations, but you can kind of, change the category.
Yeah, you can
I
change.
wouldn't do it on a month-to-month basis, and I certainly wouldn't do it just to cover up maybe a lack of planning on the budget, do it to have meaning. We're gonna do a mid-year budget amendment, and we're gonna make these particular changes, get incorporated in Banyan, and then.
Cause we get to the end of the year and it comes budget, develop budget time.
Mhm.
Very difficult when
It
And
is.
future improvements has a budget or has a balance of $90,000 in streets and highways, and machinery and equipment has we spent 400% more than what we budgeted.
Yeah.
It's really hard at that time to look at the budget with any real common sense, and it's been going on for a couple of years, and so
Mhm.
we're hoping now, we've had a lot of meetings with John, Sue here too, and that's why I asked the question too, I mean, we need to make sure that we're coding these in the right account so that, the future improvement at the end of the year, because it gives a false impression of what our levy should be. It can, unless you look at the budget as a whole and you go, you know what, we're within 3% or 1% or whatever we were last year as a whole. We might as well just go 1% on everything and just forget all that fooling around,
Budgets are difficult. I sure would.
Yeah, when you have to do it in one evening, that's
But you
kind
could
of,
look at it on a department level basis, instead of really driving it down to the nitty gritty, say, okay, how is the general government doing? How is the public safety? How is streets and highways?
Yeah, you're right.
And look at it overall that way. Just say, hey, here's your budget. We'll let you decide kind of how you want to categorize it, but this is all you've got.
You're right.
If you want to kind of tweak it, feel free.
I like to break it down as simple as I can though, so you know.
So there's one
Yeah.
thing, I was hoping to get it done last month, but is to get with Sue and, because we've got some right now where we're not gonna change our budget amount, but we need to change some of, like,
Yeah,
particular categories because we're over or short in one or the other. It's okay to go ahead and clean those up,
Yes.
but as far as making any material adjustments, you're saying, or not material adjustment, that's not the right verbiage, but
If you're gonna move out of particular, let's say, departments or funds, and when I say fund, I mean general fund, water, sewer, whatever, department, general, gov, public safety, park and rec, streets. You're gonna move out of those departments. You can, council has that authority, but you should bring those recommendations to the council for the full council approval.
okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't think,
Yeah.
Sue doesn't have the authority to make those categorical changes on her own.
Okay.
If you're gonna assist her with, here's our recommendation, you bring it to the council and say, here's what we're recommending to make changes to the budget. Yea or nay, let's have discussion, and then you move forward if it's packets.
Okay, all right.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
So like, we'll be getting some bills from the engineering people now, about some of these projects, do we take and take that right out of the water? Make sure that that's paid for out of the water because that's what initiated the whole thing?
Well, there's gonna be a lot of moving parts, so this is what I would recommend. I wouldn't put it in water, sewer, general, I would open up a new accounting fund. And I would call it the 24 street utility improvements. And start coding those invoices there. Because what you need to be able to do, like, I forget her name, the funding lady. Once you're awarded that, or you get on their good list, so to speak, now you can start reimbursing some of those costs. You need good record of those. So if they get filtered into the water fund or the general fund, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. Yeah, you can pull these engineering invoices out, but you need good documentation for what that is. So set up a new fund. Run those engineering invoices in there, run everything it takes to get this thing off the ground. You're gonna have a really good handle on what your total costs are. And it won't be hidden with everything else going in the water fund and the general fund.
But what happens if you spend that and we didn't qualify and we spent $37,000 for engineering
Or more.
or more? Yeah, how do we handle that?
Well, now the city's gotta decide how to pay for that.
Yeah.
So what you can do at the end of the year, we can come back in and talk to you guys and say, hey, we recommend making a movement of money from the general to help with this, or from the water fund, or whoever needs to contribute to helping finance those kind of costs.
I think that it took us a couple attempts to move money for this county project out here, right? We did that by resolution, but it took us a couple attempts to get that transferred.
Yep. Having this separated out is very important.
It would be
Because
important
it could
just
be a
to,
couple year, process.
Absolutely.
This thing. It
Yeah.
certainly could. Ask the Vernon Center.
I would anticipate at least two, yeah.
so any projects going right now, then get that separate
Yeah.
account on it.
Well, not necessarily, it depends on the size of the project. So if you know that you're gonna have debt, county standards require it right at the beginning. So it says, hey, we know we're gonna issue GO bonds, we're gonna have any kind of debt proceeds. We need a separate, call it construction fund, to capture all these costs.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important. It's gonna help Sue, it's gonna help the city kind of manage what you're seeing there. Keep a close eye on those costs, because they can go from year to year. And they likely will.
So right now, if we go through with this project, it would take $109,000 and there is no engineering costs on here. This is just the,
That would be.
Engineer,
Yeah.
Your costs are in your bills.
Yeah.
You're correct.
The engineering cost is estimated 135,490.
That's the.
No, that's the total.
No, that was the estimate for the project.
That's what they.
Oh.
Yeah, and they come in under that, so that 109,000, what do we have in the water right now? Tom, you got that?
Right here.
I don't think we got quite enough in there yet.
100. Yeah.
Yeah, we
At
don't
this
quite got
moment.
enough. So then we'll have to by resolution again, transfer money out of the general into that. Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
not counting investment.
That cost, definitely water, right? That's what they're doing. So those sorts of items, you don't need to be creating these new accounting funds for that. But these large projects, these multi-year, multifaceted projects, you absolutely should.
Do we pay our general fund back from the water fund? Do we like just loan $109,000? Cause we went through this before, right? Do we want to pay our general back because water is water, sewer is sewer?
Ideally, and one of the things that I like to talk about when I get to the end of this presentation is describe why we call your water sewer refuse, we call them business type funds. We call them that because they need to operate like a business. They need to stand on there.
Yeah.
There are many businesses out there that hand out money to other businesses, say, you don't have it, I'll give you $100,000. So that would stand to reason that there should be some expectation to return a portion of that. You don't have to charge interest, but at least you can say, here, we're gonna give you 100,000. And we'd like to set some payment terms for the water fund to return that.
So like where the fund balance is $93,000 here, if you just scheduled, say, $20,000 over the next 3 years, that would have went down to 73,000 and in the next whatever amount of years, you'd have that paid back.
Yep.
To the water fund. Okay. Got all that, Sue?
Give me a call. Well,
Exactly.
but it's all really what the council decides.
Did we pay ourselves back for that water project out there?
No.
No, we didn't, did we? But we talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't make that.
But this all came up again
So,
since.
but I will caution you now, if you're gonna move money anywhere, no,
All resolutions?
it's going general to water, sewer, vice versa, especially a loan. Talk with Chris, he can set up a payment, like an amortization schedule, we call them. SIR is kind of like a promissory note kind of flavor, and at least then that formalizes that responsibility.
It makes it a lot cleaner for you.
Cause it won't get missed.
And the other thing it would do too is that it would make more realistic a budget for water and sewer.
Mhm.
In that, then we would be able to look at that realistic budget and go, okay, we do need to raise the rates a penny, a cubic foot or whatever, you know what I mean? In order to cover that payment that you're talking about. Where we are right now, we don't really do it that way. What I'm gonna do is just ask Brian, how many gallons do we, or cubic feet or whatever, do we pump a month? And then I'm gonna figure out what the increase needs to be to pay for the treatment center out there from that one answer. Because I break it down as simple as I can. And, cause you gotta include everybody, the little guys, you gotta include, you know what I mean? Everything has to be included in that hike to pay for that kind of infrastructure.
Anybody that's on the minimum
Even
would
they.
have to go.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And you can figure that out really simply if we know how many gallons we pump a month.
And now it'll be easy because the gallons will be coming into the clerk monthly gallons and your meter over there is already gallons, right?
But if we do what we're
Yep.
talking about here, that is in the budget already. All those expense, that kind of thing ends up in there, you know what I mean? Because we're gonna pay it back.
Yeah.
We have enough in there to pay for that now, but we need to recoup that.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I just got one last thing to talk about. Page 7. Slide 13. These are those water sewer refuse funds that we've already been talking about. And as we already mentioned, these are business type funds. The ideal is that you have profit. There's not many businesses out there that are gonna survive very long if they don't generate some kind of profit. But I would argue that maybe there's a different way that we can evaluate these funds. And profit and loss can be misleading. There's a lot of charges that go to profit. that reduce it. There's charges that go to profit that increase it, that really, it doesn't have much of an impact on what you find in the bank. You're not paying your bills with profit, you pay with cash.
Right. Yeah.
So I would argue cash is a really good way to evaluate. If cash has been lying to you, you know exactly what you have. So the evaluation could be as simple as, where did we start this month? Where did we end this month? Did we go up or did we go down? If we went up, it was better than if we had gone down. Same thing can be done on a year-to-year kind of basis. Where did we start the year? Where did we end the year? You're never gonna be misled by that type of thing. So what you see here on this page is an analysis of what happened to your cash for those utility funds. Okay? The first thing you should note, very top blue highlighted section, I won't bore you with some of these details, is cash flows from operations. Just think this is why the water fund's in existence, is provide water to customers. It takes expenditures and expenses to deliver that water. You wanna collect enough to cover that, right? So you should always see positive numbers. Well, the water fund, you see a negative number there. A fair amount of that had to do with the painting that you guys undertook in 23, $60,000 of it, I believe. So that's gonna drive that cash flow down. But it's good to understand what's going on there. But ideally what you want to do is get your rates set, like Tom was talking about, and so we know that we can count on a certain dollar amount collected. And then hopefully that dollar amount is sufficient to pay all your bills and a lot of other things that have go on. So you need to have cash flow to purchase equipment, make infrastructure repairs, and repay debt for past improvements. So if you guys do this $10 million project, your water rates are gonna need to be sufficient to be able to service the debt. And so it's really a nice analysis that we have here. On the middle of that slide, there's a line that represents cash increase, decrease. So you can see the water fund had a significant decrease, $65,000. Sewer fund in a much healthier position, they had an increase of about 37,000. You can see your relative year-end balances as it was at the end of last year for each the water and the sewer. And then just below that, we show a historical increase or decrease for the last 5 years. And the water fund's had some ups and downs there. Or excuse me, the sewer fund. The water fund is right now a 5-year average, $3,600 lost every year. So you may need to do something with those rates sooner than you think.
Well, here's another question for you. $64,000 of COVID money we used to buy water meters, right? Which was, right? Do you know about that? And how do we have to make a resolution to use that money to pay for our new water meters?
We already did.
We already did.
So we'll back it up a year. So we had the city pass a resolution, basically releasing any restriction on that money. So you guys, it was called a standard allowance. So you passed a resolution, almost every city did. So anyone that got less than $10 million of COVID money, they were allowed to use it however they want.
Okay,
You still have to report it. I believe one of the ARPA reports was just last week. But you passed this resolution that said, hey, we're gonna elect the standard allowance. Now we're free to collect it. It becomes discretionary, so you can use it whatever purpose you have or whatever your spending priorities are.
so how does that get into Banyan now? So when it's time to pay for these water meters, that is in there
We
and
have to
Banyan,
move it to the water fund. If it's in your general fund, that's where you need to, and I think it absolutely is. You
I
need to
think it
move
is.
It is.
to the water.
okay,
Okay,
Again, that's another transfer.
and that would be another resolution then, correct?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then, okay,
But if you know, when are you buying these meters? Is there?
now,
Oh, you already have?
yeah,
they're all gonna be in by tomorrow.
All right, so I was just gonna say, you could probably get that worked into your budget, to move that money over there, but that's already kind of long gone, but yeah, make a resolution, move that money. What you don't wanna do, and some cities will do this, they'll say, well, we got our COVID money over here in the general fund, we bought a bunch of water meters, we'll just code the expense to the general fund.
And see,
It's gonna be a material adjustment if you do that, cause I gotta move it back to the water, so.
Okay,
it was
the
six,
money that you're gonna use to pay for those to the water.
because there's $24,000 or $22,000 of installation costs there too.
Okay.
So all that's gotta be,
yeah, all of it,
all of it.
the whole $100,000.
Yeah,
Funds and, yeah,
That's what we expected.
yeah. But we want to account for it right
Right.
this time.
Yeah.
We want to get it moved in there.
And
And in this business year,
Ideally.
not like 2020.
You
know,
I agree.
I'm
So-
sitting here finding this all interesting that we're talking like this really at accounting level because we've never been able to do this before. But you've encouraged us to become accountants over the past years. Sit here, we have to all become accountants as we look at all this every year. It's really difficult.
Responsibility, and like I mentioned, as a small community, council does hold some of those management responsibilities. A city of Mankato, they're not likely doing that sort of thing because they have a finance department.
That's what we have to do is that $65,000. We have to make sure that that is moved around correctly. And you're telling us that it all has to be done by resolution and the other 24 would have to come out of the general. So like you say, just take $100,000 and
Slide it over.
Can that be one resolution though? Or does it have to be two? Because you've got the
Yeah,
COVID money.
that's-
plus the other money.
Money on there as you want.
I think you would want to have a COVID money one and then the additional installation cost out of the general to pay back the water, right?
The rules kind of say you need a resolution. They don't say you're limited to one transfer per. But here's the nice thing. So in your budget, if you know that you need to move money to help out and whatever you're doing, you don't need to pass a separate resolution if you budgeted for these transfers. So that's something to think about come next budget cycle. If you know in 25, you're gonna have to move some money to the water to help out with certain purchases,
Oh, yeah.
put it in your budget. The budget's approved by resolution or by that process already.
Okay,
Then it's just a matter of when do we actually push the button to move the money over?
okay.
So that's one way that you can eliminate some of the extra paperwork burden on Sue to have to do a resolution every month. It's not terrible. Once you have Chris send you like a template and you can just update the dollar amounts as needed, so then you don't have to worry about it as much.
Makes sense.
Back to the COVID bunny in that report, I've told Sue, I remembered that came through sometime in April last year. You said I was probably already due.
And they keep extending it, I believe.
April, the end of April. I don't know, I just got something about something in July. I was trying to look at that today, but
And the sad thing is, even if you've already spent it, you still need a report.
Right, but I mean, that final report, do you remember who that was through? Cause
US Treasury, I think.
Sit down it, you can do either one, yeah.
Yeah.
I was hunting that last year.
Good luck.
That's
It's-
all.
That website's got off, and I get so many calls throughout the year. trying to get
Okay.
that
All right.
straightened out, yeah.
All right.
It's not an easy system.
Okay.
Maybe we can do my emails.
Yeah, there should be, and I think you like to get set up on it possibly.
Yep, I was on it yet today and then I got sidetracked.
Oh, okay, frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, you probably need it anyway for some of your tax needs. Yep. Anyway, so. Great discussion, something you guys need to be thinking about, these water rates, especially this looming project. I would not lose any time starting to kind of. Forecast where these rates need to go, obviously you don't know what kind of funding you're gonna get, but it's not gonna be 100%.
Well, we gotta get the-
Let's just be honest, it's not gonna be 100%. You're gonna have debt, just a matter of how much.
Right.
We gotta get those rates on that were approved
True,
a long time ago.
out the right amounts, absolutely.
Because they're not been put in place.
Yep.
So,
So overall, I think good report. The last slide there is your audit team for the year, myself, Greg Burkhardt as a partner. Everybody else listed on that slide, they do all the dirty work, I get all the credits. And it's not far from the truth, quite honestly, but I will say this, I know I can bore you guys to death with some of this stuff, I do. You guys enjoyed that a little bit, maybe, but I don't know, this is part of my job. Coming out, talking to councils, helping you guys understand numbers that can be pretty difficult to understand so that you can do your job a little bit better. If you have questions throughout the year, my phone number and email address are on that slide. You can reach out. However, wherever is easiest for you. And as a matter of fact, anybody on the audit team would be very happy to assist if you ever did have any questions. So.
do you think we should do our twice a year audit, continue that?
Great. I wondered, I was thinking about that on the drive over here. Do we continue? And, we're happy to. Like I said, I think things have improved. do not have quite the issues with payroll like we had seen and some of those other things. You know, it kind of boils down to, does it help you guys make decisions? You know, is it helping with your budgeting process? I think maybe having a interim financial statement would. You know, you can kind of see those mid-year results. But if it's not, you know, then maybe you can see without doing that.
Does it cost us more to have you come out twice a year? Yeah,
I mean,
We talking-
overall, it does. We do discount our annual fee. We don't charge our full, what we would if it was just a city that we didn't have any experience with,
if you had to guess
for some savings.
an extra audit during the year, what do you think? 2,500?
For the savings, the cost, I
Yeah.
forget what we charged. I think it was $4,000.
For an extra audit?
Yeah,
Even though when you do the last half of 24, you already got the first half
We
of
do.
24 done.
and yep, absolutely. So there's some discounting for that piece.
Yeah, we might have to work on that rate.
Some of what we're doing, you know, it has to be replicated.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
so we put that financial statement together, doing the first 6 months doesn't help us do the annual financial statement.
because you're out here twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What does help us is we can sample your invoices, so we came out to do that work, we would randomly select invoices that were paid. We look at receipts, and then we don't have to sample as much at the annual audit, because we've already picked up the first 6 months. So we save a little bit of time that way. But the financials themselves, it really doesn't save us much, so.
My opinion is, you know, Sue's still learning. There's a lot I don't know yet, and I would be perfectly fine with carrying on and doing it one more time at least. And then reevaluate after next year's audit.
And it may not have to be an ongoing sort of thing.
Right.
I think you get a little stability in the clerk office, you gain some experience, you know, there's so much that you do that's only once or twice a year. It's
Right.
hard to,
Remember,
it takes time. I mean, it,
There's a lot. There is a lot.
there's a lot of responsibilities there, absolutely.
There is a lot.
Tom,
We'd be happy to do it, but I wouldn't, against you, you're like, hey, I think we've got things settled down. I don't know if we need it, but, you guys can certainly decide, and I can get a contract out to Sue. If you make a decision, you can go down that route.
because I mean, if you go back 25 years ago, when Tom and I were here, we had Cheryl. You know, she had it down, because she was here for so many years, or 20 years, you know, she just had it down, because she was here.
Yep.
You know, she was seasoned.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. And that takes time. Take it to that point.
All righty. Good. I think we got a lot of questions answered.
Happy to help, happy to do it, so.
All right.
Thank
It's
you.
very, very nice to make sure our payroll and everything got done.
It was
On
good
timely
to
matter.
see. Yeah, it was good to see. It made a lot more sense.
Oh, that's good.
Kudos. We've done well.
Yep.
And Sue reaches out, she's not shy. She'll email me if she's got questions. Happy to answer. This time of year, it'll take me a little while to get back to you, but I always will.
The one word you said was learning. She's learning.
Yep.
Yep. It may take quite a few phone calls to get her down,
We
but
expect, our focus, my firm's focus is smaller communities. You know, you're not gonna see us auditing Mankato or North Mankato. And we understand that when there's turnover, we're gonna get a lot of calls, a lot of questions, but the way I look at it, it's, it does take up some of our time, but it's kind of a pay it forward. The quicker, the faster you can get on up to speed and do
Yep.
things well, it comes back to us in the long term because there's a cleaner audit and things are put where they need to be. It's less effort for us as we go forward, so. Yeah, so we understand. So you're not bothering us, so don't ever feel that way. Again, I'm happy to be able to help where I can.
all right. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You say something about short meeting?
Auditor shows up, that's not.
Yeah, okay. All right, Sheriff's Department, we had 69 hours, intoxication, domestic harassment, driving complaint, assist, welfare check, animal complaint. Any questions on that? Fire Department, Chief Clamor had 9 calls, mutual aid, medical, lift assist, bicycle accident, structure fire, and fire investigation. Any question on that? Ladder truck quote, did we have that in our pack? I didn't. How much was that? I missed that
11,
program. We need to make a motion to get that.
I think we should, I think
Yeah.
that's why it was,
That was the 11,009, right?
yeah, yeah.
So is some of this go back to the townships then?
I would,
That gets split up, I'm assuming, in when you do that,
that,
the 6-month billing.
yeah.
I'm not positive on that.
Because is
Isn't it?
this truck for city only?
I can't remember, if the city only bought that truck or not.
Remember, Scott?
We'd have to find out.
Okay, so you wanna find,
Yeah,
who's gonna find that out? So Sue knows what direction to go.
we can get out some.
All right.
I'm not sure that
Well,
that,
there is a gal sitting here that knows fire chief really good.
Make a phone call.
All right,
I do think we need to make a motion
yeah.
to get this done.
somebody wanna make a motion to get this fixed for $11,919.86?
So,
Someone second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye opposed, motion carried.
and that'll come out of their the fire departments, you
Yes.
know, I mean, there's
Yep.
plenty of money there.
Yep, yep.
Good Thunder Fire Department Pancake Breakfast, April 19th from 9 to 1.
14,
April 14th.
April 14th.
That's,
I messed up,
that's this Sunday.
you know,
Okay. 14th. Anything else under any of them? We can move on to race and street update.
See here.
what do you want?
So for this, couple things that got knocked off, we got the generator and the LP tank, that's everything down there is set up and ready to go. It'll run, it exercises itself every week, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. So every Tuesday it'll turn on for 5 minutes just to keep going. And then the LP tank is monitored that if it gets to a certain threshold, then the valve will come out and fill it up. So then everything out there is squared away. That should be good to go.
Is it operational today?
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it's completely done.
Okay, good. Good.
So that's. And then before I came in here, I looked at how many meters we had left. There were 18 of the regular house size meters and then there's one 1-inch meter. So there's 19 meters left total. So you're guessing that they should be done with the install as much as they can tomorrow. Obviously, we're still waiting on a couple non-responders and there's a few houses that there's curb stops that don't work or we can't find her. So we're in the process of getting that, but 99% of the meters should be installed by tomorrow.
So when I pulled up, a gentleman from Midwest was pulling up before anybody else got here before the meeting. And he said that they went through a little more of the meters because they did replace the outside meters too that were in the house. I don't know if that, so he was thinking they're gonna be at least 2 short for what they have for tomorrow. You may want to reach out to
I
him.
think we knew that. We were just waiting to see, we were waiting to figure out how short we are. So we're not ordering a meter here and then a meter there and.
Right, okay, yeah, just the way he did a quick count and he said he thinks that they're too short, so.
I think that's what we figured out when we
Yeah.
figured out the outside meter.
Yeah, we missed it. We found the two.
Yep.
that were-
We need to have a half a dozen on hand
Yeah,
because in case somebody freezes one, we
right.
can fix it. We're ready to go and,
Out there right away.
yeah.
So.
Well, do you have to wait for a final report? Or are they kind of letting you know along as they go what they're finding with the sump pump?
So they sent a weekly report for last week that had, last week they got 180 of them done, so it's a big Excel sheet that's got. They have their pictures for,
Well, that could be part of our INI.
yeah, so the report that we got had, I don't know how many sump pumps that they had wrote down, but when I looked, it said that they list if they have a sump pump where it's discharging, then they also take pictures of those two things.
Yeah.
And when I went through quickly, everyone that had a sump pump was discharging outside. So at least from what they've found so far, there's still 40 that we'll get from this next week's report. Everything's been discharging to the right location. So,
And then do you remember, was there some lead pipe too that we have to be concerned about?
I didn't look as hard into I saw a couple that had galvanized and the galvanized has to be replaced, but I'm sure that, as we get the rest of I'm assuming it's all just one Excel sheet that they just update with
Yeah.
so we'll just have to go through it.
You might,
Yeah. I know that there's a couple, I didn't dig too deep into that. I was more looking at just the sump pumps for now. But it will be nice to just see everything.
How are you getting a hold of the people that aren't scheduling?
Midwest testing is very persistent, so as they find time, last week, not so much because the first week is really most of the scheduled appointments. But as they find time, I mean, they go door knock, they leave door tags, this week with his schedule opening up more, if he door knocks and someone's there, instead of trying to schedule a time for later, he'll just go in and do it, so.
Cause I know you texted me, but I was like, how are you getting a hold of everybody else?
I mean, we really didn't have to make. Cause I think on April 1st, when we got the initial non-responder list, there was 78. I probably reached out to 10 people, but for the most part, I mean, they got. And like I said, they're very, very persistent.
Impressive, yeah.
So. And it's just. I couldn't believe when by Tuesday they had 100 of them done. So I mean. They're fast. That was I assumed it would go quickly, but they went a lot faster than I thought they would.
Yeah.
do you think we have a few that aren't going to respond? They're just not going to open the door?
There might be, but I think we're in the position to say, if you don't take the new meter, I mean, the cities are allowed access to replace the meter, and if they're not gonna be willing to change that or willing to let us in, then.
We'll shut your
Yeah,
well.
we'll shut your option is you get the new meter, you get the water, and
That was gonna lead me to my next
Yeah.
question
And then there's
here.
a
Do we
fee.
have to pass some sort of a resolution giving us the authority to do that tonight in order to make that happen next week?
I think it said in the paper you'd be charged fees and all that for
yeah.
water
Mhm.
shut off and.
Yeah.
How about snowbirds? That
I
aren't,
mean, they're not. home.
There's only one that I'm aware of that isn't home yet, but that's already. They've got somebody lined up to do that one, so,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
to help with that one. All the other ones are back that I'm aware of. Or they've been done, because Pyman's were done.
I guess, I mean, it might be on that paper, but do we as a council have the authority to shut water off because they didn't open the door to put a new meter in? I think we do, but.
I think
I'm gonna bring that up.
as long as you're going through the same process that we do with shutting someone off for non-payment. I mean, obviously you don't just go and
Shut it off.
shut it off. You have to give them ample notice to say, hey,
So
this is coming, you need to do this.
some of them, it could be 3 months then before we do it.
What about the people that don't have water?
probably wouldn't be in our city code though, that if the non-payment of,
It could be in there.
Yeah.
It could be something in there. I don't remember.
I think they probably pretty good to get them in the next day or two.
What about people that don't have water already?
They aren't
They're not
getting it.
getting them.
Oh, then- oh,
If you aren't actively getting billed for water, you were not getting. So, because I know there's a couple houses that
that's right. I
their
think you said.
pipes are in disrepair, so it's just,
And the one that thought water was off, but when it leaked, it wasn't off, was that off then?
yes, that is off at the curb now, and she's also not getting a meter until that's corrected. And just like the school is not getting a meter until that's ready to go. I think we did the same thing with the apartments at
I think that school is the gallons already.
yeah.
I think that was the one that was gallons. For some reason, I think that's, I don't know, I have to know.
It does, it is, but I don't know if it reads. But
Yeah, it won't read, right? It'd be a manual read. Yeah.
So once we get to that point, then we can
Yeah,
revisit it when they're ready. There's no sense putting a new meter in that now, and it's not gonna get used, so. And then we talked about the project a couple times with continuing the alley by the post office and along with the storm sewer that's in that boulevard, as well as going underneath Oak Street in front of the post office. I reached out to WW Blacktop. That was the same crew that did the first half of the project, so. Just reached out to him to try and get a preliminary number to see what we're looking at for a cost of that project. What he listed for what they were planning on doing is boring, so we'd be continuing where we left off in the alley, replacing down to Polk Street. And then from Polk Street would be going, there's a little catch basin by the light pole, and we'd be boring from that light or that catch basin across. And then boring again down that boulevard to the county road, because that's also collapsed. And the reason they suggested boring both ways is that there's not enough room to dig along that boulevard at the bell tower. You could risk the curb falling back in. So that was, that initial cost that they gave was 65,000 to do that. I know it has to go, we're gonna have to go get bids. I spoke to Kennedy today about it just because I'm trying to understand where the cutoff for dollar amounts, and he said that unfortunately that's kind of in the engineering territory and actually putting a product out for bids. So
Or quotes.
the way he was saying is if engineering project, just like we're doing with the sanitary sewer. He said that you can, there's ways for cities to work around that, but with the, maybe the added eyes that we need to be doing things as by the book as we can, not to say that we weren't before, but so he did suggest that for a project of that dollar amount that we'd be unfortunately again looking at engineering and figuring out what we need to give an actual bid specification project.
Did Boltman and Mick ever look at that alley? They didn't.
No, not that alley.
No, okay.
We were,
Both of the design plan.
I think we were working on that at the.
Is there anything falling apart on that yet?
Pardon?
On that project? Is anything falling apart? I mean, is the street falling in or anything here yet?
Well,
Along the catch basin, if you look at the catch basin along the bell tower park where that alley comes out, it's, I mean, it's sinking. When they resurfaced that road, they took their miller across and, I mean, Robert saw it.
yeah, there was a hole right
There's
there,
a hole
right by the gutter.
Road. Right now on that boulevard, I mean, his knee went through the grass pulling the manhole up. So right now on that boulevard where it was sinking in, WW put half a skid loader bucket of asphalt in there just to kind of stabilize that for.
So did you explain that to Chris? Like an emergency event?
It's the repair is what it needs to be
Sure.
caused, and boring under the road because we just blast capped it, and now we find out that the pipe is bad and the catch basin is bad, but.
Can you do it in two phases?
Pardon?
Can you do it in two phases?
Yeah, but that.
We know
that
the alley isn't as bad, do the north and south. And wait. Till.
But you don't have to bid it until what, $125,000?
Yeah, but he's saying that he's recommending that we do this by bid.
What we've seen out of these guys here, they did excellent work. They did good work,
But it was fast too.
and they did it
A
fast,
couple days.
and they had a heck of a, kind of a bad dig down there. They ran into a sewer that was, where was that one going? Into the storm. One sanitary was going into the storm.
There's
The
something going
gas
on.
company bored through one.
Yeah,
Yep, and the gas company bored through it, so.
and if you look at, like I said, if you look at the catch basin coming out of the alleyway, it is.
You want to
Sunk down
call and ask him, explain it differently?
Well, I mean, this is maintenance. We have two collapsed storm sewers. One going north, one going across the street.
That's what I'm asking is maybe he didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't bring up
I mean, you just kind of started,
I was more asking on a dollar amount. level,
Yeah, I
so
mean, you know what I mean?
He
This
doesn't
is,
know the context of what I was,
that's what I'm getting at.
the context of the project.
Well,
I would still consider this an emergency repair.
Well, I would too. I mean, but here we sit.
well, we didn't,
To
we,
tell you the truth, I'll make a motion that we have them do that.
there you go. That's what I was thinking. Somebody want to second that?
For WW,
Yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carried. Done now.
And it's done. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here
Yeah.
next year talking about whether it was an emergency or not.
Yep, I made that simple.
I never thought of that. Treatment. So we got no, you never showed this. We had a letter from the Southwest Dust Treatment. Just for, I'm pretty sure it's the same company that sold last year to
Yeah, I seen it in here.
gravel. One thing I will say about that is your Hillard Drive. Is in need of some gravel, so if we're gonna be putting chloride down, we probably wanna get Hillard Drive taken care of before we do. Put chloride down, so we're not covering up right back up, we're just still having a dusty road. I put what gravel I had left on the road. But it's still, there's some parts that it's pretty,
Like how many feet or like where to where?
well, when we do the chloride, we do, we only do it to Marine Spears House, just past the property line, we don't do any chloride past that point. I will say that in front of Marine, they need of sun, and going from Marines to the stop sign on County Road, that's kind of where it's the thinnest, so we don't get to that before we chloride, we can, that's not the end of the world, but we will want to put some more down, especially in front of the two houses, because it's just going to come. I can't really do anything with that scraper, it doesn't. It's to the point right now where it doesn't really pull anything up, it's just kind of running across the hard pack that's in the ground.
Well, these guys are just giving a quote, or did you ask them for what it's gonna cost, or?
Oh, I did,
It's just $100 a foot.
yeah,
It's just-
Because the North Street there too. We've done part of that. And then we also done Graham Street.
yeah, last year we did. Everything that was gravel in town we did, minus the couple thinner alleys, but we did Graham Street, we did that section of Willard Street.
Yeah, but we didn't do Chapel, and we didn't do Willard, and we didn't go to this one.
No, yeah, the recycled blacktop roads, that's what we got
Yeah.
that's a different company. This is just that
Right,
one section of Willard, Graham Street and Flint Street.
some of this here, you know. Unless it gets washed out by rain, boy, it don't seem like it lasts long. Graham Street is very dusty.
Yeah,
Are you supposed to do it a couple times a year? Well, it's been so dry too, but are you supposed to do it? How often how long do they give a guarantee? now?
Yeah, did we get 2 applications or just one?
I believe it was just, I don't know what we did last year, I believe they go by the
Says one,
foot.
Yeah,
one full application.
but I thought we used to get it spring and almost, you know, Labor Day time for the fall.
The county always did it twice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Be paid too. This is who done it before? No.
Well, so the company that. This is who did it last year. They bought out the company that did it before. We received this letter last year. Or it might have been 2 winters ago. It was right around the time we started, we got the letters just saying that. This is an introduction of this company, just to let them know that they bought out the previous, I don't know who the previous one was. That's.
So I had to do something with Pfeffer. The Pfeffer dad was driving the treatment truck that one time when we did.
Can we hook up with the county too? Do we, or don't they want to do it for us?
I think we tried, but maybe they would.
What I had heard is that the county was hard to. Get to come to you.
Well, how about this?
I mean, I haven't, truthfully, I haven't looked.
You know, they
into
put
it.
an ad in the paper and they say, sign up and, you know,
How about this? Find out. We're gonna have a meeting Monday night.
yeah. Good idea.
I can do it.
We'll make it simple.
What do you, it's what all, so I can just relay what what all are you looking for?
A cost of doing, you'd have to measure.
Yeah.
Up there from the west end up there down to, there's one property that we don't go by.
Yeah,
And there's a half a block there, no, there's a block there that doesn't get done, right?
Yeah.
And then Graham Street,
We should
Hiller
have,
Drive,
we should have the bill from, like I said, last year we did Hiller, we did Flynn, we did that one section of Willard, we did Graham Street.
maybe, I don't know, is them records around?
Yeah, I can look.
Bill from,
Yeah, I can try to pull.
Yeah.
up the last-
I wanna say it was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna throw out a number for exactly. No, either.
All right,
And then a little update for the ash borer. I went around with R3 service and cars will do both treating and removal. We initially looked at if we were to do everything. So he just gave a default per inch price. It was $25 an inch for removal, and for treating was $8 an inch. Which I believe removal, if we were to go around and have cars do every single ash tree, it would be like, I wanna say it was like 12, a little over 12,000. Treating them would be in that $4,000 range. The equipment, if we were to treat them ourselves, would be kind of in that $4,000 range for your initial cost of the equipment. And then after you have it, the only thing that you're continuing to buy is your chemical. And that's like $600 for a pint. And when I did it at MSU, I want to say a pint would go through it's either 6 or 8 average sized trees. We have 39 that we're responsible for in town. So I think somewhere there's a balance of treating the ones like down by the Thunder Valley Park that are in the playground and around the ball field, all of those are ash trees. There's probably a fine line, or there's probably a balance somewhere between treating some and taking some down and then leaving some to be taken down at a later date.
So is it a one-time treat or you gotta do it
It's
yearly or?
every 2 years, wasn't it?
so it's every, I think it's advertised as every 2 years. When we were doing it, MSU, that the salesman kind of told us that you could more than likely push it to that 3-year range. When I was at the country club and we were doing this, they picked 90 trees to save and they did 30 a year. So every year, you'd be doing 30 trees. It's just, you're doing on a rotation as opposed to doing all 90 up front. But again, I think there's a line somewhere that there's a balance between treating them all, cutting them all down, and then doing nothing with some. At that point, it's just determining as the leaves come out, you will be able to tell what trees are nicer, what ones aren't worth saving, and what ones are just better off being cut down, so.
And you do have to be licensed to do it?
Yeah, it's the same license that I had, just have to renew it.
You can renew it? Do you have to go to school to do it?
No, it's just
Online?
a test. You go to the Blue Earth County building, take a test.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is.
If you have a tree that's 20 inches around, you have to do it every 8 inches, right? Or what was it, every 10?
Yeah, what it's measured, so you measure it at press height, and the diameter determines how many.
Holes you put in it?
It's,
Yeah,
I think it was dividing by 3, so if you had a 20-inch tree. Or we'll do 21 because it's a little easier math. If you have a 21-inch tree, then you're doing.
every 7
blocks.
inches.
Yeah, and all it is, it's a little drill bit that you.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
you could go up to a tree and drill 3 holes and put the stuff in there in a matter of what, 5 minutes?
yeah, it doesn't take,
Yeah.
once you get it going, it doesn't take very long. So.
Well, my thoughts are if Race can get that license back to do it, we should do it ourselves because we're spending a lot of money.
I agree.
We're spending a lot of money.
I agree.
Goes to the removal. So
Yeah,
then it's down to the other 2 options.
I would like to run them as long as we can, but if we
Realistically, we're
Most of them are gonna be more than 21 inches in diameter, aren't they?
The average was about 25. There's one really big one in the park right across from my house. I mean, there's one, that's the biggest one. For the most part, they're in that they probably average out at a 25. I have the list back at the shop, but I didn't write down an average for. And I will say, like I said, once the leaves start coming out, I mean, there's a handful of trees that they're already in rough shape, so it just might be better to get rid of them now. And a lot of them, we don't necessarily need cars to do that. A lot of them are in places that are easy enough for the trees, not big enough that we can do that in-house.
I agree, Robert. I think we should authorize him to get the, whatever we need, get the license first, get what we need, get it done.
I will say the license, it won't be an issue. So
I just don't want you to buy
Yeah.
a chemical.
No, I understand. Yeah.
You know? Go from there.
Put that in motion for him.
So move.
Someone a second? All in favor? I oppose, motion carried.
You know, and then that would mean that as soon as we get the equipment, whatever we need, and the chemical, just get on it and get them done. That way there, nobody can say we didn't try.
That's
So
right.
with the treating, there, you can only do it certain times. It's like, I think it's like between 75 and 80 degrees and sun
Sure.
is the best, so.
I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
opportune times, it's like
Yeah.
spraying.
'Cause, I mean, once you inject it, I mean, it'll suck it up in a second,
Yeah.
long it all. So,
That ought to all be in your licensing, right?
Yeah.
The requirements of what temperature's gotta be and all that.
yeah, they ran through everything you needed.
Alrighty. Will there be a fee to get that license?
I think they're $60.
Do we need to amend that?
I mean, I would include that in my emotion there, that,
Okay,
you know, that he gets the license, he gets whatever it be.
all right. Okay, anything else, Rich?
We have the building.
Building permit they went through,
Um,
was the basement
for,
foundation.
resident wants to, he had some issues with this foundation, would like to get corrected.
Everything's all right on that?
Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve GT 0324? Someone the second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. I oppose, carried. Race was going around here a week ago when we were getting a pretty good rain that one day. And thank you for doing that. And he found some manholes that we really, the water picks up.
Yeah,
Can you get those dye
that's
fills?
what Brian and I talked about doing.
Oh, yeah, the water
Yeah.
is there and throw them in
Just get them.
a catch basin and see
Yep, I can absolutely do.
where that's coming from.
Yeah, get a couple different colors
Yep.
Yeah, one bill.
Yep.
if you can.
Where do you get that?
You can order through USA Blue Book. We have an account with them.
Okay.
So,
So, yeah, we need to see because, what did you get for water that day?
Well, one day had over 100,000, 150,000, something like that.
And when he pulled a couple manholes a block north of my place and right by my place, there's a lot of clear water there.
Mhm.
well, down by the,
And then the ballpark?
yeah, I mean, it was entirely clear. I mean, you could, not to say that you want to drink out of it, but it looks like you could. So,
Yeah, there's probably a few of these pipes that could be a good candidate for lining again. Especially the one across the ballpark, because Brian said that Ronnie Hiller. The Ronnie Hiller that said one time we smoke tested it was coming out of the
Out of the
ground.
ground by the ballpark, yeah.
And I forgot all about that and, yeah,
We didn't smoke test down that area. this
no, when we smoke tested, we were focusing on the.
Up here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just really.
Yeah.
I guess one last thing I'll say is that, the snowboard is ready to be picked up in Benson. Helen is going up in that area. He's picking up something for himself in that area. I just wanted to see if it was fine if he literally said he drives through Benson. So the one thing with that would be that he'd be getting reimbursed for mileage and he'd also be getting his hourly rate, which I did the math today and it's pretty much the same price for me to get it versus him. I just didn't know if that's something that he could do and save me
Can he get it in the back of a pickup or is he
He's
pulling a
got,
trailer?
he said he can bring a snow, he's got a snowmobile trailer, he said he could bring it. Or it's 1,000 pounds, so. I mean, if you don't want, if you'd rather me go up with the truck and get it, I'm more than
He
fine.
wants a wage plus
We
mileage
have to give him a wage. and
because he's employed.
mileage because he's an employee. We do not reimburse volunteers for mileage. We cannot just say, yep, go do it and we'll reimburse you. I talked to Kennedy about it.
Okay,
So we either have to pay him and mileage or Race has to get it.
Yeah, but like I said, if you'd rather me do it and just save the hassle, I can do, I'm fine with doing that.
I would rather you just go
Liability
get
thing
it.
if something happened to him on
Correct.
the way there.
That's what I was,
I'd rather you just go get it for a couple of reasons, insurance wise and all
Yeah,
that, you know, it's
that's
just
fine.
easier, cleaner, yeah.
That's fine. Like I said, just saw the opportunities.
Yeah.
We gotta ask.
all right, anything else, Rich?
I don't want to.
Yeah, just try to get some of them pellets there, so when we get some rains, you could
Yeah, I'll get-
throw a blue one in, a yellow one and a red one.
I'll
And
get some ordered tomorrow.
see where we are getting this I.
And then when you do, put it on the internet so that when people see red active radioactive water,
Yeah,
But it would, you'd throw it in the storm hole, right?
Yeah.
In the catch
yeah,
basin.
but you know, somebody will be on the river. There'll be that red mark going down the river, you know, so.
I can do that. I'll get them ordered tomorrow, so.
Yep. All right, anything else, Henry? All right, we can move on to Brian. Water, sewer,
I got about 100 things to talk about tonight.
you got about 5
Hey,
minutes.
that's okay.
The only thing that I
I don't
got
have to get
is,
up in the morning.
Sue, you saw I come across the consumer confidence report from the Department of Health is ready. I'll get with you. Last year, John took care of it, getting it posted and, I believe it was you. When
Yeah.
we got it put in the messenger and
yeah,
maybe it was you.
No,
no, that was me.
You, okay.
Yeah,
So between, I'll come and talk to you about what needs to be done.
Okay.
Then once we post it, then we have to send in a confirmation. Response that says this is how we did it. And we hereby certify that it was done and give them all the information.
and I believe the messenger gives us a file of some
Yeah.
kind saying that they published it on whatever date.
Yeah, they'll give us a PDF
oh, yeah, I've got,
and then I send that PDF to the Department of Health.
oh, okay,
Yeah, so I'll get with you. It's not due till July, so
okay.
in the next couple weeks. That's it.
Grease trap, is that under you or?
Grease trap.
The restaurant.
Oh, I put the grease trap under Brian.
That's Race's grease trap.
So, that alley just had a handful of problems over the course of 5 weeks. We had to jet it out once with affordable jetting, again with Empire Pipe because they have a big vac truck jetter. And I did get a call last week from Affordable Jetting saying that the elevators had to get that same, their line goes straight into that manhole. And they had to get it jetted out because it was just chock full of grease. Scott saw you didn't see the initial part of it, but I mean, there was a significant amount of grease that was.
I think Kellen said it's been jettered 4 times this year already. So it's on average
Like
once
I
a month.
said, the city's done it twice and I think we did it 2 weeks ago and then,
Mhm.
but before that, it was like another 2 weeks. So we did it twice and it
All
was.
that grease collects on the floats down there in the lift station and they're this big, but they turn out like basketballs, just coated with grease and then they don't work and the pumps don't run. It's.
Oh, they run all the time, right? Because they're heavy?
Yeah, just waste electricity and
Did you send a note like I suggested?
No, because I thought Bolton and Mink were gonna get me one to send and I'll reach out to them.
Okay. They called, neither one, both of you maybe called me and asked what I thought. They thought I was gonna call them up and talk to them, and I said, no, I really think that should be a city function that they call and send them notes.
you gotta wonder where all that grease is coming from, cause they're emptying the fryers into their recycled grease containers all.
Exactly, yeah.
Where's that amount of grease coming?
Do you think it all gets there? Is there
Straight up.
certain people working that might not want to walk outside?
Well, it's possible. I mean, but that's why I'm saying that we just send them a little note, just saying that we've had to do this a couple of times. And your neighbors have had to do it a couple of times, and so anything you can do to eliminate the grease in your sewer would be appreciated. And that was what I was thought we would do. But it should be a.
Your ordinances too
city.
about nuisance businesses that cause problems with your. It's gotta be in there somewhere, cause I've seen it in other cities. You can even check the rural water, they might have a sample ordinance for that and see if we have it, but. If you've got a business that's causing a disruption to the,
So did it float backwards to the west where that manhole is in the alley by Kellen's that the elevator hooks into?
That's my guess. I'm not quite, I wasn't here, I was in Mankato when,
Where did Scott see it at?
We were in both,
yeah, we,
all three, man.
we did, when they came to jet it the first time, it was affordable jetting, so we just had his van, so we started at the manhole by Kellen's house, then we did the manhole in the center of the,
Alley.
or no, we did the center of the alley down to the, that manhole, then we did that manhole. And then we worked back, and then we worked out to the post office,
Yeah,
and then we took the tanker to try and,
all three of them have grease in them?
there's a lot of grease.
Wow, so somebody isn't not walking outside.
So that's what I mean. It'd be nice if we just start off with just a letter from the city.
I don't,
Explaining the situation.
I don't know a super detailed history of that alley, but I have heard from both cause we've had both of the affordable jetting workers, I've talked to them and they've both been out to do that alley before, so
when, oh, what's his name, the Puerto Rican maintenance guy he had,
Jerry?
Jerry, he did it twice or three times one summer. He had Jetter come out and jet that out,
Just seems funny, there's that much grease coming.
and, yeah.
See,
Is there,
some of it this time could have lined up with he's having some work done as well. I think they might have jetted the, when I talked to I think they might have jetted after we did it the first time, before they got their work done. Because when we had Empire Pipe come out, it was because, they had a contractor that was gonna, I think, be lining their pipe. And they couldn't do that because the manhole in front of Kellen's house was completely full of water. So that's when we had Empire Pipe come out, and then that's when they hooked up their big truck and,
when did they come out?
March 25th, that's when it was.
Did we get that bill already?
That was the Empire Pipe bill.
No, I don't think we did.
March 25th, or just a week and a half ago,
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
But the water was all backing up, I think.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, we don't have that bill?
I haven't seen it.
Because last month there was a bill for $500, I believe, for cleaning.
Jetter
that was.
Better.
or affordable, yep.
That was the first time.
Mhm.
So, and then,
They've been out twice since.
the jetting was
All
out.
Empire and then.
Oh, yeah, Empire, yeah.
I don't remember the first date for the affordable, but then Empire Pipe was here March 25th, and then affordable jetting was back to do the elevators line on April 1st.
So there's been 3 times in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we did not pay for the elevator one. They did that.
They
but,
called on their own.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but
right, but yeah, the point still stands that it's been 3 times in 5 or 6
So our
weeks.
thinking is that what happened is that manhole was plugged up
Yeah.
and theirs was cleaner, so it forced it back.
Yeah.
Towards the
And then it
bigger
was
building.
cold, so it.
obviously the kitchen was built before straps had to be mandatory to put in, right?
oh, I don't know.
You know,
Nice, oh, we
I
don't.
sent a couple ordinances to you, Ray, about
90s when they
some
built that.
information on grease traps from the pollution control.
Do you have a grease trap?
you
You do?
had to do it by
Any new.
By code?
code, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How would you have
I mean, that building.
Yeah, it's.
Well, because we couldn't, we got a fryer that we could fry chicken if,
Oh,
and you know,
oh. Oh, that's for the Red
the
Arrow.
restaurant, yeah, or at the gas station, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all up to where it should be. I mean, would it get down to the point where would have to maybe put one in outside or something, or?
Well,
I mean-
it could come to that.
Either that or they gotta make sure that all employees are walking it outside
Right.
because it's the only place it can be coming from, right?
A lot of grease comes off the grill. You know, if they're not collecting that. They're just washing that down. I don't know. I'm just assuming. but
Yeah.
You can
That's what I
fry a
was
lot of
wondering.
hamburgers and steaks, you get a lot of grease.
Oh, yeah,
From
yeah,
the
that's,
dish, I don't, they have a dishwasher?
Oh, yeah, true. You throw
Dishwasher would,
greasy
yeah.
stuff in the dishwasher
but wouldn't the detergent break that down a lot?
somewhat, but
I would think it would.
God, you'd think it would for this amount. You'd think it
Hmm.
would, yeah. That's why I just find it so difficult to, but whatever. In my opinion, yeah, we should start with setting, they're explaining exactly what we
Yep.
just talked about here. And then, you know,
Get the Empire bill and show them what's costed
yeah, just
and,
kind of go from there.
yeah, sound good. Is that all you had, Ron?
yeah, I don't know anything else.
Holy cow, we're wasting a lot of your time and you've been.
How much water do you pump a month? Do you know offhand? Average? Just text her, let her know, and then she can let me know too.
I can tell you exactly. I mean,
No, just let Sue know tomorrow or something, some other day.
you're talking about how much water we pump out of the ground?
Yeah.
A month.
Yep.
It's about 48,000.
1.2 million.
Gallons?
Mhm.
How much do you say the average person uses a day?
Well, when you size a treatment facility, you go 100 gallons per person per day, so it's a 5-person household, you'd have 500 gallons per day. Yeah, that's what they say. That's how you size your system.
Really?
But how much does?
Hmm?
Water, I use it
50?
when I take a shower.
That's a long shower.
So how many people live in Good Thunder? 550?
All the clothes.
Wow,
Roughly.
800, 200 or 600.
So this is pretty easy math. You go, okay, 600 people. Now let's just go,
Think about their bill, it's like 170.
40,000 gallons divided by
Being that group 4.
600 people,
6, no.
67 gallons per day.
Really?
Yeah.
But then that's, you gotta figure in my truck wash, it takes a lot of water.
Right.
That's $1,000.
That's what he's talking about.
What I figure, it'd be, it's $1,000 a month, it's $1,200 an hour.
Their water.
There's
This
a lot of
is
water.
called, they call it population equivalent.
Well,
And it's just
I don't-
the number you throw into your thing for sizing a treatment facility is land on 100 gallons.
Pay 172.
And if you're curious, you can, because all the meters are new, if you know the day you put them in, or they put it in.
I don't know.
Like I looked at mine yesterday and mine got put in on
The minimum. was
Wednesday and we had to use
Well, that's all
560
we've been saying.
gallons, because they all start at 0, so if you're curious.
500 and what, one
We use 560 gallons,
in a day?
from Wednesday to Sunday, mid-Sunday, so middle of the day, Wednesday to middle of the day, Sunday, we do. And that's my wife, myself, and a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So we use 560 in 4 days, 5 days. So I mean, if you're curious, right now, you have a unique opportunity.
There's a-
Dishwasher and a water softener.
Gallons.
Yeah,
The water softener bash washes, and you got a dishwasher, and you got showers, and you got.
And the wash machine runs every day,
wash machine.
2 people, every day. Anyway,
I was more curious off subject because Amboy. My daughter, so we own a house in Amboy that my daughter rents from us and their water bill for 2 people. Is $100 more than ours.
Mhm.
And we're probably we're 4 people. We have a lot of people, I mean, kids still coming and going, so I would say we're probably a 4-person household. So we're double the household. And theirs is $100 more. And then, so I called her, but she said that we're underpriced. That's what our problem is. And good.
We are, my daughter's bill is way more than mine at my house and she was an boy, and it's just her.
well, then Bolton and Mank say that. if
Won't
we
be for
want to
long.
Qualify for whatever, our water rate.
Won't be for long.
that's right. It won't be for long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't go up that much, but we do need to look at it. I do want to get with the guy that used to be with Rural Water, him, Sue.
Jeff?
Yeah, because he said
Yeah, you said you'd come down and help, but then.
Mhm.
but that's for later on.
I don't wanna complain about our cheap.
Now, now.
Right?
Well, okay, if that's it for Brian, we have a resolution 2024-3 and 2024-4 One's water rate conversion, one's sewer rate conversion. Somebody want to make a motion to approve both of those resolutions?
Yeah, just to clarify, this is going from feet to gallons.
Yep,
Correct.
yep.
So I will make a motion to approve 03 and 04.
Someone second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi,
Aye, opposed, motion carried. All right, community comment? Anybody? That one's quick. Unfinished business, we have wagon train.
So I reached out to phone number that you gave me, and then his wife called me back because she kind of is more in charge of it. According to that, there's a resident in town that has kind of taken it under their wing. So we really don't need to do anything at this point. The resident is gonna kind of get everything organized. They may come to us to ask us for a donation to help offset food or something. I don't know anything other than that.
And it's
So-
for the Special Olympics,
And it's
or a
special,
special,
yes, it's for the,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Special Olympics, yes.
Yeah.
So basically, I just kind of left it go at that then and. You know, I mean, if they want, help with financial or whatever, they'll approach council. So,
all right,
there you go.
that was it under unfinished new business and cleanup, June 15th.
Jesse called me about that from LJP.
Yep.
He called and he suggested that date, so I said, well, I'll bring it up to council and see what they want to do, so,
Well, we want to have one, right?
yep.
Give everybody opportunity to clean up their yards, make sure we get letters sent out prior, 6 weeks prior, 2 weeks prior, the day of. Because we have some chairs that are on the boulevard that have been there for 3 weeks
We
now.
need to, so how does that work when we go, to go around town and distribute letters for violations or however? Who does it? I mean, sometimes it's city, it's the clerk, sometimes it's race, sometimes it's a council and
We had it
so,
last year. Ron volunteered to drive around. I took pictures with my phone and then I
so
wrote up.
council went around and did it and then brought it back to me.
Well, I was doing it as the clerk.
Oh, that's right. Oh, okay. Thank you, thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so then, and then it comes back to the council, then the council has to do a motion though to send out the letters, am I correct?
Right,
Oh, I don't know.
Because the letter states that the council has directed me to,
yep, it's gotta have that.
so the council has to say, yes, we need to clean up these yards. My interpretation. So,
Yards and businesses,
well, yeah,
Yep.
the town. Whatever.
but like these that are sitting on the boulevard now. Can we really allow that to sit there until the 15th of,
Are you talking about the two, that sectional or whatever?
yeah. One left. But the other.
Yeah, but we can't really single out.
Well, do we have something about it not sitting on the boulevard? I mean, come on, man.
I'm sure we do, I'm sure we could.
How could we, can we call Chris and ask him how you could handle that? Or would that be the way to do? Because
You're old too.
I mean,
Yeah, it's on county roads.
You're allowed
There you go.
leave them there until June,
Mm-hmm.
and they would do that.
No, yeah.
I don't see a problem with just, I mean, it's not like it's hidden. I mean, it's
Right.
out in plain view.
Okay.
Just, I would say, let's write that, if we know the address, let's write them a letter, because it is kind of a,
Well, if we have it in our ordinances, we don't want Kirby's sitting out on your front sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Can you put it under that one, kind of?
Well, and I have sent letters regarding that. I actually, that was during the snow and it went completely unanswered.
one has now.
One has now been moved. There is one on my street, that is there and has been there since, the place was purchased. And the garbage cans are getting ruined. So I mean, at what point is the resident liable then to replace their cans because they have neglected to take the proper care of them?
Well, LJP needs to know that so they can bill that person, right, Tom?
in our ordinances, there is already in there. All they have to do is send them a copy of that ordinance and then
Ordinance is
have to
only
go
as
out
good
and
as
use
you
Well, it's
can.
Teeth behind it is the,
Ordinance is only as good as you can back it up.
Oh, exactly.
So I mean,
Exactly.
so what is according to when I sent the letter for the garbage can, it was a misdemeanor.
Well,
There wasn't a fee for it. They weren't gonna come take your cans. It's a misdemeanor.
that's what we'd be able to do is get their containers because they're not doing what they're supposed to.
So then we would have to update our ordinance and then now you've got. It's a domino effect. Now we took their cans because they're not taking
So
care of
you've
them
already-
properly.
You've already sent this.
Yes, I've already sent that letter last fall.
Oh, okay.
And then we take their cans. Well, now where do you think their garbage is gonna go?
I don't
Is,
care.
if it's the one I'm
It's gonna be in
thinking
the
about,
yard and then they're gonna get a letter for their yard.
if it's the one I'm thinking about, is there already bags of garbage in that yard? Around the deck?
I think
I'm up on the deck, yes. Yes,
We can go and get that. Through proper procedure.
yeah,
We can abate that.
yeah.
We have to do that. We have to start doing that. We have to start, as you
Mhm.
say, put teeth in the ordinance.
Mhm.
I mean,
I mean, and I think our liaison is good with doing some of that, but there's only some of that he can do.
yeah,
And that was
Right.
part of that ordinance committee that came into play that,
and this is the one on your street.
yes.
At least we can abate the garbage crap. Through procedure.
Yeah.
That Chris has already
Mhm.
told us,
Yeah,
so we can, whatever that procedure is, start the procedure and make that happen. And then, and if there's any others in town, they gotta do the same.
mhm. Well, that's it. We've got to make sure when we're doing this,
As
that we're
much as
doing them
possible.
all, yeah, so,
No matter how far you're gonna get this much and do it,
well, there is that.
I mean, as much as possible. Just make it happen.
Okay.
Cause we with correct procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And we can, but we'll have to store it.
Is there a
and go-
charge?
All of that kind of stuff, and we bill them and all of that.
How about
kind
the
of stuff.
sectionals?
I think you have to store it all.
You do, if you go to abate somebody,
Yeah.
you have to store everything. You have to label it and you have to store it.
Yeah.
Yep,
In good storage or?
yeah, you
Yeah.
can't just throw it in a barn with holes. It has to be in
Well,
a,
it's sitting outside now in the weather.
It
Doesn't
doesn't make any
matter.
what
difference.
did you say Amboy did? Was it Amboy the?
Amboy did it abate, yep, and they actually went in, but what they did is. The resident wanted to, they just didn't have the ability to. So Amboy went in with an did the abatement, and then they went in and cleaned it up. They
Charged them.
they didn't charge them for the labor, they charged them a certain percentage of the disposal. I don't even know if they charge them the full disposal, but
So that was in cooperation.
Yeah.
that was in
goes back to they
cooperation.
have
You're
to
looking
do
at
those.
somebody who wants to do it, they just don't have the ability or they're,
Right.
for whatever reasons.
Probably age or
Right,
Yep.
which is really nice.
So,
We don't
yeah,
have that.
but I
Do
think
you
the
do
ones,
Abatement, is it so many days that they have or,
Yeah,
oh,
Mhm.
like 28 days or
or
something?
whatever. I don't know for sure, but yeah. They have so many days to get, it might be 10, I don't know.
but I think on some of them. Yeah, I don't know.
You have two neighbors that are, one's yeah, you have a
So
problem.
just, initiate that process. And if we have properties, we can just
Mhm.
email Sue. and-
Well, as I said, we're gonna have to start then by going around town and getting these documentation and starting that process, because it's basically starting from scratch.
Yeah, you just need a few
Again.
pictures.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Would, we do that or would Race
I think he knows where they all are. You can just go.
Yeah, you can
He
just
knows he's doing
snap a
fine.
picture and give it to Sue and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Be
but it
done.
still has to go
Be
to
done
council
tomorrow.
before we still have to go to council before you can send the letters.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we gotta get that,
Yes.
but.
What if he
we're
drives
having a
around
meeting
tomorrow?
Monday night, so.
We can do it Monday night.
But do you have like a list of violations, like a car and tires or whatever, not just like you think it looks crappy? I mean, is there like a,
Mhm.
There's
They,
a,
they do
yeah,
that.
there's a list
Yeah.
of.
oh, there is a list.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
they
what-
already, that's
Just
already
to
been
keep it
done in the past.
fair.
anyway.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a lot of work. But at least you can get started.
Again.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
Do we need a motion to approve June 15th, the citywide cleanup? And I'm assuming it'll be the same with the dumpsters down in, by the ball field.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Why don't we do pickup anymore?
They don't have the bodies. LJP just doesn't have the people to do
I thought
it.
they did in other towns. Is it all the towns like
did.
this?
They did another town. Website.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say what town right off the tip of my
Will
tongue.
they still do it to other towns?
There was
Yeah,
another town, they did it. so because
Mankato.
They held them to the contract, yeah.
Mankato, North Mankato, I'm pretty sure Mapleton maybe.
Is it in our contract?
I don't know that. I haven't seen the contract for 20 years.
Have you ever seen a contract with,
I haven't looked.
because I know,
Can't say I haven't or have.
because they sent one last year to update fuel costs, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Is
but I
that-
don't think it was a new contract. I think that was just
No.
that part of the contract.
It just seems like it'd be a lot easier for people to push their stuff out to the curb,
Yeah,
Oh,
Mhm.
boy, yeah.
you get more,
more garbage.
You get more.
Yeah.
We would spend the money. It isn't the money that, you know,
Right.
it's just that we
It's
don't
them
want to
saying
do
they
it.
won't do it.
And so,
maybe you can see if you can find a contract.
Okay.
Or ask Paul, have them send you a new
Yeah, I
one.
can tell, yeah.
Instead of looking and looking, just
Yep.
have them send a,
yeah,
Copy.
send the
Send,
copy.
send the most current, the most recent contract.
yeah.
'Cause it's,
And yes, John, you want to make that motion that's
Yeah,
clean cleanup? And but do we need to know whether it be curbside or,
that's to be determined then.
yeah,
But yeah, I'll make a motion for June 15th to be citywide cleanup, so that part with LJP can get started.
Like from 8 to noon? Is that what you?
well, unless it's in our contract, it's curbside.
But then it's still.
Yeah,
It has to be out there a certain time.
Yeah, I have to be out by 8 AM
Yeah.
the day of. That should be a Saturday.
That's
And you
a
know-
Saturday.
When you had it curbside, people throw away a clothesline pole or they throw a bed frame metal. The metal people take that away and that's less expense for the city.
They look forward.
Because
to
we
it.
didn't pay a landfill charge on metal that can go to Beaufort and get
Right,
recycled.
right.
last time it wasn't that way. It was, but it was COVID-y, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
John made it, second. Did we go that far yet or not?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. And miscellaneous, you have this Sue here, 1 year Minnesota.
The Clerks Institute is coming up in May 6th to the 10th. And I did apply for $100 grant through MCFOA and I was awarded that.
nice.
So I did sign up for that.
Good.
The hotel and everything, I've already gotten all that done.
Somebody make a motion to have Sue go May 6th to the 10th.
So moved.
Something second. All in favor?
I
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Anything else under miscellaneous?
just mileage reimbursement.
I have my mileage reimbursement for the conference.
Oh, yeah,
And then I had to FedEx some stuff to the cities. So there's. too.
we have a bill here from Sue somewhere for mileage. Somebody make a motion to approve that.
Move to approve.
Someone second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. One thing I had is Dakota Mart with where we at with that.
So where we are with that is talk to Kennedy. He has not received any responses from the discovery that he sent out. We can move, the council can take the next step, which will bring a motion to compel. None of it's a guarantee you're gonna get your money back, but that would be the next step, would be a motion to compel.
And compel would be, what does that mean?
That's what these emails said.
And so,
I'm assuming to, is that,
So by no responses, you mean anything he sent, nobody's
they
responded?
have not responded to the discovery, which is stating what they have, what they don't, other assets, their.
And one time we were under the impression, somebody said they were still paying the county.
So, no, they are not paying the county. Kennedy reached out to the county.
So that is still
They
there.
did come in here and pay, and there was, she was gonna come in here and make a payment on that. At that time, I wasn't sure if we could accept a payment, and sometimes if you accept it, you make all this other stuff null and void. So I wanted to be very careful with that, and Kennedy said we can accept a payment.
We can.
We can, if they wanted to come in here. Now, obviously, it's not going to erase the process, you know,
No.
and
no,
it can't be, and if they want to start paying, it's gotta be a reasonable amount of money.
Substantial amount.
They can't, you know, come in and pay $200. I mean, they can, but that's not going to do anything. If they want to try to make it a substantial dent in it, it's going to have to be a lot higher.
Well, what was that word you used?
Compel, it's basically forcing their hand.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It was forcing them, but I don't know if it's actually forcing them to complete the documents.
But yeah, what that force means, I don't know.
I don't know.
A legal request that a court of law compel one party to a legal action to provide evidence to another party to the action.
Okay, so that would be going to court and forcing them to do that. Forcing them to complete the discovery. Would be the next step.
Well, thoughts on the next step?
You know, court. How much does that cost?
There'll be some expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be an expense to it.
But there's a $40,000 balance yet, right?
Yeah,
That's-
or
that's a
whatever.
lot.
I would think,
I don't care if it's 10,000 now.
because I'm assuming it's not gonna be actual, well, it could be a court date. But it will be first filing. Kennedy or somebody's gonna have to file a motion with the court
Mm-hmm.
to get that part.
And it might just be that the judge just signs that there is no actual court date.
Right.
Just a- yeah, a court order that it goes.
Um,
Well,
So,
for another 2
Yeah,
or 3 years.
I would see where this goes. I would,
Make a motion.
$500 or something like that, probably $700.
yeah, or maybe a couple grand too, I don't know, but.
Well,
Yeah, I'll,
it would be in the best interest for the city if we keep pursuing it anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the car wash got, that same thing happened there. That guy promised to make payments, did not, we did not follow through. So we shouldn't allow this to happen twice.
yeah,
At least try.
Yep, so need a motion for that probably then to
Mhm.
pursue that, someone make that motion?
make the motion for Kennedy to proceed with the compel action or whatever the proper verbiage would be.
Second? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carried. Anybody else with miscellaneous?
Hey, no, don't, this isn't set in stone now, but just think about this,
Tom was already on them water rates.
raise the minimum for everybody. $1.98 per month, whatever that minimum is right now per month, we'll put that up $2, base $1.98 a month.
A month, which
And that
would
would
be getting billed now monthly.
Yep, and that would be enough to raise enough money to pay that project off at the lagoon in 3 years.
wow.
That's a,
Mathematician.
Yeah,
oh, you mean the lagoon,
yeah, Yeah.
For the INI.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
or you mean for the building for the treatment?
that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the one.
That's
Yeah.
affordable.
I thought maybe you were doing the water rates already there.
Well, you can put it on the water rate or you can put it on
Yeah.
sewer rate, but it's all based on gallons.
Yeah, now it will be,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it doesn't make any difference which one you put it on.
Yeah.
Because the sewer rate's dependent on the water rate.
Yep. And that one property that we do, I guess I had that in last month, so the one property that is not in corporate city limits does have sewer, but they have their own well. Instead, you know, if you had sewer, you have to have both.
Yeah, water, yeah, sewer, I don't know, it's the other way around, I don't know that.
But we entered into an agreement, I guess they get charged $75 a month.
Yeah, and then that'll go up $2 also.
Yeah.
Leave it there.
Don't write home about that yet.
So I do have one more thing, regarding the water meter or regarding water shutoffs for snowbirds. Just something to think about. Other towns. Some of them don't. Amboy doesn't do anything. They just charge $10 to turn their water on or turn it off and then turn it on. Eagle Lake charges $200. According to Kennedy, that's just a one-time fee though, $200 for like the fall. According to Kennedy, we do not have a policy for it, so if we have a snowbird that requests their water to be turned off. They should be charged that $75 disconnect fee, and to have them turned back on, they should be charged a $75 reconnect fee.
So do you want to get
So-
that, have him write that up?
So that's what, it's not, because we don't have a policy for snowbirds, that's where it would fall. So if we want to address this. We're gonna either need to make a policy or to. make a motion to how you guys want to handle snowbirds.
Snowbirds, birds would be separate than say, I needed to put a new valve on mine. I need Race to come over and.
That's
shut it off.
different.
Yeah, not repair.
We're talking, they're shutting off the water in their residence and they're gonna be gone
Yeah.
for 6 months.
So does that stop sewer and garbage also?
Correct, that stops everything. Yep,
It does stop everything too.
yep,
Contingencies, everything.
yep.
Stops everything.
It stops all the billing. And now we did have one that he gets turned off every year. And he said sometimes he gets a bill and he pays it, sometimes he doesn't. Just depends on how it's turned off in Banyan. But Grace does go out and shut the curb stop off.
Yeah.
But we're also gonna have some that, I'm gone for 3 months out of the year. They have their water shut off. We need to figure out how we're gonna handle that or how you're going to handle that.
I think we should have a snowbird policy,
So,
But I mean, in reality, if you charge 75 and 75 at $150, what does a quarter cost? It's gonna be about a wash.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
know water usage,
in all reality,
your
yeah,
garbage and your sewer, it's gonna be about a wash.
yep.
Maybe just do a $175 charge.
The only thing, well, yeah, the only issue is if there's a water break for some reason in their house, then. But now with the new meters, we're gonna know it anyways. So I mean, it's just something to think about. You don't have to,
It is something to,
it's just something you guys are gonna have to think about. For our future,
I mean, it's almost like maybe we should lower the whole works or something.
or you just do a separate, like I said, Amboy just does a separate one, it's just snowbirds. And they do that amount.
I think that's what it should
It's
be,
just like
just a
10
snowbird
bucks,
one.
yeah, you can do just a snowbird policy, but.
What's the difference if I'm gonna go wait 3 months or if I need to put a valve in?
Cause we don't charge for putting a valve in,
For repair.
or
Yeah, no,
repairs. We
make-
don't charge for those.
It'd be different from like a delinquent, like if you're not paying.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't charge if I have a problem?
No.
No,
Oh, I didn't
no,
know
if you
that.
need to have your curb.
I always thought you did.
I've done 5
Oh.
ones. It's-
Well, never mind then. I'll be quiet now.
So anyway, yeah, that's something to think about.
All right, we can give it some thought and maybe reissue it or rethink it Monday night. We've been here for 3 hours.
How
already.
about we just look at it again like this fall, when we get to snowbird policy, because I think there's enough going on right now.
As long as you keep it
It's
on the agenda.
only 10 o'clock,
We'll
Sue.
keep it on the,
All right, nobody else with anything?
I'll make a motion to do, adjourn.
Okay, someone second,
Second,
all in favor? Opposed? Good, thanks, everybody.
thank you.